ESPN's college football primetime available in high definition on ESPN HD. As the Ramblin' Wreck leads the Yellow Jackets out on their home field here in Atlanta. Bobby Dodd Stadium, just short of a sellout. It's a whiteout. The students in the spirit on senior night. The Jackets come in 7-3, 4-3 in the ACC, chasing first place Miami in the Coastal. The Hurricanes, we mentioned before, controlling their destiny. 2 wins away from the division title and 4-2 in the league. But handling prosperity for this team that's won 5 in a row, kind of a new challenge as we bring in Erin Andrews on that topic.
Chris, it was kind of funny, listening to the nonchalant comments on Miami's sideline during warm-up. People were saying it's a good thing this Canes team is so young because they don't understand the magnitude of this game yet. So how big is tonight's game for the Canes program? I had coaches, I had players tell me tonight's game could be the biggest for Randy Shannon in his head coaching career at Miami. This is a program changer. I actually even had another player tell me, if we win tonight, watch out world, the Canes are back. Nerves? What nerves? These guys are ready to go. In fact, some coaches were telling me they didn't care the fact they were ranked for the first time in, 06? They didn't care about the fact they have destiny in their hands. What they cared about is how cold is it going to be in Atlanta on Thursday night?
It's not that cold up here in the booth, but we've got heaters. It was a debacle his opening year in Miami, inherited some problems, had to instill discipline, but it's been a spectacular season in a lot of different areas for Randy Shannon. And no off-the-field problems with this team. Very strong academic performance, and they're bowl-bound, a chance to win the conference championship.
And what's so impressive about Randy Shannon, the job he's done, he does have a lot of freshmen. It's a very young team, but they're very mature. They weren't talking this week about being ranked for the first time in more than 2 years. They weren't talking about winning the Coastal Division, the ACC title game in Tampa, or bowl games. They are worried about Georgia Tech tonight and getting this win.
And the fact that Randy Shannon is consistent, you know where he stands. His quarterbacks, Robert Marv or Ja'Cory Harris, whoever it's going to be.
Slamming into guys in the warm-up.
But you saw Randy's demeanor, and he knows he's got young guys fired up. Marv wants to get a little action there, but they don't get flabbergasted with the surroundings and the magnitude of the game. They focus on their assignments.
Speaking of assignments, Paul Johnson preaches that. Of course, in his first year, coming over after a very successful 6 years at Navy, he won a couple of national championships at Georgia Southern, what was then 1AA. People thought it'd take a long time for him to install the option and win here. He's got about 70 guys on scholarship. That's 15 under the limit for various reasons. But a terrific season so far. And very crucial collision here on senior night. Scott Blair, who kicks off and punts, does all the place kicking for the Jackets. The sophomore to boot it away. Travis Benjamin is deep for Miami. He was questionable tonight, but he's got it at the goal line. A tentative return, and he's dropped at the 17. So here comes Robert Marv, the redshirt freshman out of Tampa. 10 interceptions to go with 7 touchdown passes. He throws pretty well on the run. Is a very effective runner. Had a key scramble a week ago against the Hokies.
Yeah, his legs buys time, and that's really a concern for this Georgia Tech defense tonight. They got to make sure they contain him when he leaves.
Ja'Cory Harris will see duty. About the 4th series of the game. We'll see both young quarterbacks from Miami, but Marv gets the start. And this is Greg Cooper, the sophomore back behind the fullback Hill. Play action. Marv throwing on first down, looks far side. A low throw incomplete. Aldarius Johnson not able to come up with a catch. The impact players will start with the tailback.
Miami 7-1 this year. When they run for over 100 yards, expect Greg Cooper to get a lot of touches tonight.
And not a good start for Aldarius Johnson. Sorry about that, dude. 27 receptions leads the team. You got to come up with that play.
And on defense, Anthony Reddick, the senior safety, steady guy back there, will have to deal with that Yellow Jackets option. The Jackets get the football. 2nd and 10. It's Cooper. Has a crease, and Greg Cooper dancing into the secondary and across the 35 for a first down. Cooper Taylor on the stop. There's a Yellow Jacket slow to get up. It's the linebacker Cedric Griffin. 20-yard gain.
This play should have been stopped from the beginning. You're going to see the bottom of your screen. True freshman Rashad Reed, the corner, coming on the blitz. He takes a terrible angle, and that allows Greg Cooper to get out.
You talk about angles. One of the best teachers of that is Greg Schiano, the D coordinator, head coach at Rutgers. He talks about the proper angles. We watched them at practice. Remember, Fowler, when you sit there and you say these guys, if you take the wrong angle, you're going to run beyond the play.
They crossed him up. They probably were expecting a pass right on 2nd and 10. So he's coming off the corner, headed for the quarterback.
You mean
all of a sudden has to adjust?
We're assuming then that Patrick Nix has established a rhythm here and a routine with this offense already?
I'm not saying that. There's the guy who, of course, is back at Georgia Tech. He called the plays for Chan Gailey, who was let go after this season, and he knows many of these Jackets players very well. We'll take a quick break. Back in Atlanta, we love the pageantry, the balloons and everything, but that got caught on the wire that controls our sky cam. We can't use the camera until those balloons are removed, so guess who gets that job? Eric Sorensen.
Oh, man.
Scaling the light tower.
Looks like you need to call Spider-Man.
That is a job I do not want.
What a great crew. Marv retreating on the first down, flips a screen, and Cooper breaks a tackle. Greg Cooper cuts it back for about 4. Cedric Griffin, the linebacker for Georgia Tech, taken off. Watch what happens. Rashad Reed off the corner. Jesse taking that bad angle will collide with the linebacker. Boom, right on the leg. And Griffin is their most consistent linebacker, a junior, one of the veterans.
Yeah, that's a big loss for Georgia Tech if he's not able to come back in this football game. 51 tackles heading into this game. You mentioned it. Not a lot of experience at linebacker for Georgia Tech. They need him on the field.
Good sign that he's over there on the stationary bike. On 2nd and 5, Cooper gets the call and rams forward for about 3.
Well, not only is Griffin, the linebacker, good and consistent at the running game, but he's also the guy they use to bring pressure. So you got some tweaking now that you have to take care of, and with a young football team, that's a challenge.
Well, we talked to Dave Womack, the defensive coordinator for Georgia Tech, and he said because of not having a lot of experience at linebacker, oftentimes they play these nickel packages. They like to play an extra defensive back to make up for that lack of experience at linebacker.
Let's see what Patrick Nix dials up on 3rd and 2.
Now here's a free safety back there, Cooper Taylor. He's coming up a lot of times in the boxes.
It's Craig Cooper to the left of Marvin. The shotgun will throw on 3rd and short, and it's complete at midfield. It'll be a first down catch by Chris Zellner, the backup tight end. Morgan Burnett, the rover, on the stop.
You know, I asked you the question a while ago, Chris, about Patrick Nix, the offensive coordinator. Has he really established a pattern for this offense? Jesse, they're still trying to figure out who they are.
Well, they are, and it's a very young team. A lot of inexperience at wide receiver, a lot of inexperience at quarterback. We talked to Patrick Nix last week. He said half the playbook's in right now just because he doesn't feel comfortable loading this team up because they're so young.
But he likes his gadget plays. We'll see a couple of those tonight for sure. Nothing tricky about the handoff to Cooper. Kyle Jackson, the middle linebacker, controls him after a 2-yard gain. In Miami and the Yellow Jackets, youth a theme for both teams. All the quarterbacks, freshmen, look at the percentage of the various yards gained in these categories.
That's nuts when you look at these two categories, what it means. But these are talented football players. We've seen the defense last week against Virginia Tech. They can play defense like the Canes used to play defense. Now they need their offense to come along.
8 different freshmen who scored touchdowns, most in the nation. Javaris James is now the back on 2nd and 8. He's got it. He's the power back, not quite as complete as Craig Cooper. James missing about 4.5 games this season with a high ankle sprain, just returning to health last week against the Hokies.
You know, and he's averaged 8 carries in his last 2 games. And I think that's a good sign for Miami. Again, the magic number 25. When Cooper and James combine the 25 carries, Miami is 6-2. When they don't, Miami is 3-6. So both of those running backs have to have their presence felt here tonight carrying the football.
On 3rd and 8, James is split out right, top of the formation. 3 receivers to Marv's left. He gets instant pressure, gets away. Marv lets it go, and it's broken up at the line of scrimmage. Kyle Jackson, the quick pressure, and then Burnett may have gotten a hand on it.
You know, this is against tendencies for Georgia Tech. This is the old John Tenuta style. Bring the blitz. This defense this season has been much more used to pressure of the defensive line. So that confused the blocking of Miami.
Robert Marv there showing you the inexperience. Clock has to go off on 3rd down. You have to expect pressure.
So Matt Bosher, the sophomore, does all the kicking and punting for Miami, trying to pin the Jackets deep. It's a very short punt taken by Andrew Smith at the 15-yard line. 32 yards on the punt, and here comes Josh Nesbitt, the sophomore. Still not 100% with that ankle. He's been oft injured this year, hamstring and so on. Came out of high school as a passing quarterback in the spread, but he's a very effective runner, and they need him to stay healthy tonight.
Paul Johnson pregame watching Nesbitt. His concern, Jesse, is mentally. Can he handle it mentally out there, not physically?
His biggest job in these games, he told us, was to get the team in the right place. He has the choice when it comes to the line of scrimmage, which direction to set the play. He's got to do a great job of that tonight.
Nesbitt on the reverse. And pulling up to throw is Demaryius Thomas, who throws it back across to Lucas Cox. And it's Johnson who pulls a gadget play to start this game. It's a wide receiver throw to what they call the A-back.
Yeah, watch this over here, that A-back on the left side. Watch Cox, how he just kind of drifts in there, bounces off a few folks. That's great patience.
They ran this play 2 weeks ago at UNC, except Demaryius Thomas kept the football. Now you see the wrinkle, you see the playbook from Paul Johnson opening up. Demaryius Thomas.
Rate his passing there, rate his passing.
A little underthrow, hey, but at least he made the completion.
That's because Lucas Cox was wide open. Nesbitt, he'll throw near side, and there's the catch made by Corey Earls, and a short gain to the 45-yard line. Chevis Grant on the stop. So the impact players for the Yellow Jackets offense.
Well, Randy Shannon told us that 50% of the battle stopping the option offense is stopping the fullback. That's easier said than done against Jonathan Dwyer. Leads the ACC in rushing.
Interesting tonight now, DT Demaryius out there with his ability. They're going to throw the ball early on to see what Miami does up front.
And on defense, we've already seen Morgan Burnett breaking up the pass on third down. He has 6 interceptions, tied with a bunch of guys with the national lead. 2nd and 3. And they throw it again. Far side complete to Thomas, who breaks a tackle. This is what he does. Catch the ball and run with it, not throw it so much.
I'm surprised right now. Bill Young, the defensive coordinator at Miami, must be surprised right now. Here's a team averaging 250 yards rushing a game, and they've come out on this first drive, and they're throwing it all over the joint.
Well, Paul Johnson, pregame, I asked him about throwing the football, and he kind of winked at me. He goes, we're going to see early on what they got out there.
All right.
So, and it's working. Paul Johnson's a smart guy. He's going to loosen up that front four.
When they can pass and catch the defense off guard, a lot more effective. I mean, Nesbitt's only a 48% passer. And they try to work the middle as a flag comes in. Pick up about 2 yards. I mean, pass protection, this offensive line, it's been a real problem. He would like to throw the ball more, Johnson, but the guys up front haven't really been up to it. Ron Cherry, the referee. And we see the first call. We knew this was going to be an issue. It's a chop block, which means 2 guys are working on 1 defensive player. Via Skycam, which is now up and working.
Yeah, you're going to look over here in left guard. Now, the definition of a chop, if the center is engaged, that's clearly the center is engaged with a nose tackle. The left guard comes in, Howard, and cuts him. That was preached by Randy Shannon. All people who play against Georgia Tech send the tapes into the officials.
He hates this call. It's a real sore point, but Shannon and his defensive coordinator, Bill Young, just adamant that this is illegal. Bill Young said, I wonder if the referee, if his son played defense, how often they throw the flag on that. It's really
a chop block. Yeah. Clearly illegal.
It's a 15-yard penalty. Makes it 1st and 25. Nesbitt on the pitch. Dwyer gets nice blocks, gets the corner, bangs off a man, and Jonathan Dwyer lowers the boom inside the Canes 25, and you can see why he leads the ACC in rushing. Anthony Reddick got pancaked on the corner there.
Watch when they get to the corner, the blocking, inside out. Right here, receivers blocking inside and the outside. And Dwyer's got an easy way to get down the field.
You see why Jonathan Dwyer is leading the ACC running. He just sheds people when they try to make tackles. He's got a lot of speed, a lot of strength. He's the total package at running back.
He's bouncing off Reddick, gaining 35. On 1st and 25. They try the middle again. Joe Joseph and Wayne Hendricks combining on the stop. Our Sonic rivalry recap. Not real old rivals. Miami has never beaten Georgia Tech, and they've met in the ACC. Tech winning the last 3. Of course, a whole new regime here in Atlanta, but Tech has been a nemesis for Miami early years of this conference. 2nd and 10. Lucas Cox in the backfield. Nesbitt on the reverse to Thomas again. Thomas has the corner. And gets down inside the 10, loses the football, no fumble. No fumble, it's dead at the 9-yard line. So Thomas active, picking up 14 on that running play.
Now this is all about the backside, and you're going to see on the backside, watch the lack of just down the line. Blind dog in the meat house here. No containment.
Say what?
There's a blind dog in the meat house there. He's looking for the meat.
Well, you know, Thomas said he made a more decisive cut downfield, might have scored there.
How about Georgia Tech getting Demaryius Thomas involved in this game early, running the football as well, not just throwing it to him, getting him touches on the ground.
So 1st and goal. Cox hammered right away. Is that going to be a meat and potatoes play to keep Miami's defense honest, those inside runs? They haven't worked so far.
I think it makes sense right now. Very, very off balance. Here's an area of concern for Miami's defense being in the red zone. 28 possessions this year. They've given up 23 touchdowns. They have been awful in the red zone all year. Bill Young has not been able to find the magic formula. They've blitzed people. They've played coverage. They've mixed up their fronts. It has not worked yet. And we're in here, the 11th game of the season.
Nesbitt, quick count, keeps it. Muscles forward for about 2. It'll be 3rd and goal at the 6.
To expand on your comment, your question, yes, it's a setup offense. It's a patient offense. And it's really right now working the eyes of that defensive line. We've seen the reverses now. We've seen a lot of different looks trying to make Miami's guys stay at home.
I think what's so tough about playing this style of offense is that it forces everybody on defense to be mentally in it each and every play.
On 3rd and goal. Dwyer is stopped short. So they try the middle a few times from 1st and goal at the 9 and are stopped. So that red zone defense for the Canes, which has been such a problem, rises up.
You know what I'm watching here is that I'm not sure Nesbitt shouldn't have pulled that football, and if his ankle were right, he'd have been around the corner challenging the perimeter.
You give Miami's defense a lot of credit, though. Again, Randy Shan has told us 50% of stopping this offense is stopping those dive plays from that B-back. Did a pretty good job fighting in the inside run plays so far.
See how reliable Scott Blair is from short range. This just 21 yards, and he knocks it straight through. So the Jackets on the board first, 3-0 midway first quarter. Post-game activity, guys?
Well, that's just making Jesse feel at home. Little Canadian feel for you there.
The weather outside, seeing the ice.
This guy right there, see if that's Paul Johnson. He's talking to the offense. There is no offensive coordinator by title for this team. He calls all the plays. Always has. 10-play, 81-yard drive. They had some guys nicked up. Aaron Andrews reporting that Nesbitt was limping around. Demaryius Thomas, such a big part of that drive. Complaining about a hip problem as well. So we'll monitor the health of the Jackets offense after that successful drive. This is Benjamin. Tell you what, he looks kind of tentative in there. He's kind of tiptoeing into that first line of coverage guys for Georgia Tech. He came in maybe favoring an ankle as well and limping. Aaron, to you.
All right, Chris, thanks so much. You never know who you're running to on the sidelines here at Georgia Tech games. We have T.I., we have Rappers, Outkast, and then maybe the biggest name right now, free agent-wise in baseball, Mark Teixeira joining me right now. First of all, what is the latest? There's rumors everywhere, Yankees, Red Sox. What is the latest?
The latest is gathering information. You know, it's a long process, and it's gonna take a few weeks, but right now it's just kind of seeing what's out there, and I'll make some decisions here in a few weeks.
Where do you want to go, Mark?
Oh, I want to go where I can win and my family's happy, and whether it's the East Coast, you know, that's where I'm from, but I don't know. I love playing in Anaheim too, so we'll see what happens.
Is there when do you want to have this thing signed by with any team?
You know, I don't want to put a timetable on it, but Christmas morning, I want to know where I'm going to be for the next couple of years, so hopefully by Christmas it'll be done.
Well, in the meantime, good to see you in Atlanta. Enjoy the football game. Thanks for stopping with us.
Thanks, Aaron.
All right, guys.
Aaron working hard down there, trying to break it. There's Jason Varitek, all kind of baseball guys down here.
How about that? I tell you what, Teixeira's going to get enough money that he could become a part of congressional talks with a Bill Act plan.
You see Benjamin limping off. That's not good news for Miami. He didn't look right from the very first kickoff of this game, and he's the big playmaker on offense as well. Cooper cutting back. Greg Cooper. And short gain in the middle. Morgan Burnett tackles him. Here's what re-aggravated Benjamin's injury on that kickoff return.
Yeah, but you were right, Chris. He didn't have a lot of power in those cuts, and I don't know about that. Get him out of there.
Well, just running very tentatively, you can't have that on your team returning kicks. You got to have a guy who's fearless back there. Benjamin only hurting his team if he's playing hurt, returning kicks right now.
Yeah, Ribbon's a 4.2, 640, but on an ankle like that, it's about 6.26.
They're not doing anything to help your team.
Marvin the shotgun on 2nd and 6, flips it to Cooper. And Cooper pass was partially deflected before it got to him. Daryl Richard, the excellent senior defensive tackle on the perimeter for the tackle. He's very close to a first down, but it'll be 3rd and short. Morgan got a hand on that ball before it got to Cooper. Patrick Hill, the fullback, weighs about 260. Lined up in front of Cooper. Four on the play clock. And they just get it off, and Cooper hesitates, doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage. So some uncertainty in the Miami line there. And the stop made by Brad Jefferson. Canes have to punt.
Boy, you talk about penetration and defensive line. Watch the push, the hit right here at the point of attack.
It looked like Marv over there trying to manipulate the blocking. It didn't work, and it's painful to have a 3-and-out like that. Put your defense back on the field against Paul Johnson's option. Bosher barely got it away. How is it not blocked? Doesn't travel very far. The roll takes it inside the 45 of Georgia Tech. Another look, only 30 yards, but the Canes very lucky that ball wasn't blocked by Tony Clark.
To score 35 points every game. That is going to be a shootout.
We'll talk a lot more about that. I think our partner here, Mr. James, might have a thought or two in the collision in Norman. This is Dwyer in motion. Nesbitt dropped straight back on first down. Thought about going downfield. Now he'll be sacked. Marcus Robinson, the guy who had 3 sacks a week ago against the Hokies, the true freshman, got there.
Josh Nesbitt is going to wish he had that play back. He had Demarius Thomas running down the field. Wasn't wide open, but he had beaten the safety. He was running clear down the middle of the football field. That's a throw that Josh Nesbitt has to be comfortable letting loose.
I go back to what Paul Johnson was looking for in pregame. What he talked about yesterday is that he's concerned that Nesbitt mentally is not ready to play. Physically, he can get with it, but he's not making that, like the throw you're talking about there. He needs to let that thing go.
He's missed a lot of practice, hasn't he? That's been a problem. This is Roddy Jones on the corner, and Roddy Jones sprinting down inside the Miami 30. It's not all about Jonathan Dwyer, the B-back. This is the A-back, Roddy Jones for 29.
This young man, you'll see him come left to right, and this motion, what is happening here is it's giving your blockers the angles that they're looking for on the perimeter. Look at this. Roddy Jones, former baseball guy. I guess with baseball guys on the sidelines, he's into it tonight.
I think you have to have a mindset defensively. When you play a spread option offense, you're going to give up 5, 10, 15-yard runs, but you cannot get dashed by 20, 30, 40, 50-yard runs. There's already been 2 long ones in this first quarter.
Nesbitt keeps it and manages to squeeze about 1.5 yards out on first down. Stephen Wesley on the stop. You could already see how little fun it is to play defensive line against this offense. You see blockers just diving at the knees. I mean, it's legal stuff as long as you're not having another guy block you up top. It's just not fun.
Well, and again, it just puts so much pressure on you because as the game goes on, you're not necessarily looking in the backfield anymore to find the football. You're worried about offensive linemen and offensive players diving at your legs. It takes your focus away, and you have to have 100% mental focus each and every snap because you have to play perfect assignment football when you play against the option.
On 2nd and 9, Nesbitt's throwing to the far side. Thomas Has to make a man miss. He's a big, strong guy, 230 pounds, 6'3", a sophomore. Bruce Johnson on the stop.
Let me go back one play here. Josh Nesbitt. Now look at the end man on the line of scrimmage. He's going to come up the field. The fullback needs to get the football here. This again now is where he's not making good decisions. You see that there, Jesse?
Yeah.
Up the field. Mentally, is he there?
There's a flag on the play, which will back up the Jackets.
Hold 84. Offense. 10 yards. Replay second down.
Zach Fisher, the freshman receiver, called for the hold. Instead of 3rd and short, it'll be 2nd and 15. Mr. Johnson does not agree. He always feels like the officials are out to get his guys.
Even that chop block early in the game wasn't a chop block.
Will you call it on them for once?
Nesbitt on the pitch to Jones. This time the Canes string it out. All the Miami fans say, wait a second, the option's never given Miami defenses trouble. Randy Shannon was defensive coordinator. We smothered Nebraska in the Rose Bowl, win the national championship. Over the years, we've held the Sooners and the Huskers in check. Why is this option different?
Because I believe you have the ability to throw the ball. You've got those two halfbacks that are playing in the wing slot, so they're closer to the line of scrimmage. So that's the threat of the throw down the field. Then you put them in motion, and you get the angles on the blocking.
And you play them against a defense that's very young, very inexperienced, that only has 1 week to prepare.
This is a challenge for this offense. They might even run it on 3rd and 12. You don't know. Nesbitt trapped and dropped in the backfield. Coming off the edge was Sean Spence, one of those talented true freshmen. And a nice stop for the Canes.
Chris, you mentioned it earlier. Georgia Tech and Paul Johnson want to throw the football, but they've had a lot of problems with blocking. 1 in every 8 pass attempts, Josh Nesbitt and Georgia Tech quarterbacks are getting sacked. That's a great job of Sean Spence, the true freshman, coming off the edge. But boy, oh boy, that protection has been bad this year for Georgia Tech.
And that loss pushes them out of field goal range. Scott Blair, not that reliable. So after the first quarter, the Jackets lead by a field goal, and they'll try to punt Miami deep. Start of the second quarter here in Atlanta. Yellow Jackets up 3-0 and about to punt. This is Scott Blair trying to pin the Canes deep, but boots that one well into the end zone. It's a very proud week for Georgia Tech because the Space Shuttle Endeavor launched last Friday, and of the 7 in the crew, 3 are Georgia Tech graduates. The pilot, Colonel Eric Bowe, Lieutenant Colonel Robert S. Kimbrough. We saw Sandra Magnus there, flight engineer.
Space for a larger international.
Shuttle took off, flight number 126. They only have 9 more to go before the Space Shuttle is retired, and it circled right over downtown Atlanta at 6:15. Looking up at the space station there, it's pretty good stuff right overhead here.
That is really cool.
That's awesome. They are very excited to have 3 graduates from Georgia Tech involved in the space program. Excellent aerospace engineering program here for Tech. It's a first down throw for Marv. Looks downfield. High throw over the head of Sam Shields. He got hit as he threw, and a flag is down. By the way, this is a guy that just so close to making the cut, the space shuttle launch, but just missed out.
It's because he wouldn't stop dancing once he got inside. You're floating around in there. You need your space, and this guy.
It's just a lot of time in the simulator, maybe a little too much.
Maybe a little too much oxygen.
Not enough. Now you see that the penalty against Miami backing the Canes up. They've been so penalty-free last week. Shannon just harping on this, drilling his team in practice after the Virginia game when they had 12 flags, only 1 against the Hokies.
Personal foul. Face pass. 61. Offense. Half the distance to go. We play the left.
You get the left tackle over here. And it's Jason Fox. And it's clearly a 15-yard penalty. Can't do it even if the offensive guy is the one grabbing.
Which really helps out Georgia Tech after that bad punt by their punter.
They hand it off to Jabarius James. He's wrestled down Tony Clark there, among others. Miami just 45 yards in the opening quarter. Tech had 125, twice inside the Canes 30, but only 3 points to show for it.
Yeah, you know, I think it's really, really critical for Georgia Tech's defense tonight to really take away that running game. This Georgia Tech defense has been so good against the pass this year. They're 10th in the nation, but they have 15 picks. If they can force these young quarterbacks in Miami to throw the football, good things will happen for Georgia Tech.
Yeah, there's that big defensive line. Watch the push that the defensive line gets. They're only going to bring 4 most of the time. 5 this one.
There's a throw to James. And he's pushed out at the 27 by Tony Clark. It'll set up a 3rd and short.
There's a lot of difference between this defense and John Tenuta's from last year. Tenuta left, went to Notre Dame. This defense last year used to come all the time with blitz, blitz, blitz. Now with that great defensive line you're talking about, Jesse, they can be much more plain in the background.
And it allows them to be more multiple. They can run different coverages. They can run different pressures. And I think that plays into their hands again tonight because of the inexperience of quarterback for Miami. It's going to be hard for Robert Marvin, Ja'Cory Harris to get a read on what Georgia Tech is doing because of that great D-line you just mentioned, Fred.
Dave Warmack, the coordinator, years at Arkansas, Southern Miss, South Carolina on the resume. See what his guys can do on 3rd and 3. Marv has time. Intercepted. Picked off. Heading for the end zone is Michael Johnson. That's why the NFL scouts love number 93, the 6'7" senior.
Not even a fire zone, but you're going to see Johnson on the left side. He'll first come into the block and then just backs out basically because he can't get to the quarterback.
He's got those long arms. You see him able to shed and get the offensive lineman off him so he can stay on his feet and jump up and make that play. What an athlete.
He's the leading sacker in that defensive line. That's his first interception. Takes it back 26 yards. You guys called it. This is a very ball-hungry defense. Marv's been interception prone, and now the Canes find themselves in a 10-zip hole on the road. Michael Johnson's interception return. Guys saying, feed me. Just keep feeding it to me. 10-0. Johnson, you can see as Marv gets a chat with Patrick Nix, the offensive coordinator. Johnson's defense getting in the end zone. Michael Johnson, you can see why they like him so much. 5% body fat, 6'7", kind of lean. He's not going to overpower a rusher. And they try the offside kick, and it doesn't work. Miami recovers it, and instant momentum. So they tried to fool the Canes, but Kylan Robinson makes the recovery, an excellent field position for Ja'Cory Harris. They'll make a quarterback change here. This is part of the plan, but what about this gamble?
It's a big gamble here. Obviously, though, Jesse, they're trying to catch the ball. The kicking unit is supposed to catch it in the air. It does get beyond 10 yards, but they were not watching it. The kick team didn't see the ball.
I don't like that call. You just get a huge momentum shift on an interception for a touchdown. Your defense is holding them. Kick the ball off and keep playing defense.
Miami had awful field position its first 3 possessions. Now set up at the 34. And here is Ja'Cory Harris, the true freshman from Miami Northwestern High. This is part of the plan. He always comes in about the 4th series. James breaks a couple tackles, and Jabarius James cracks forward for 9 yards. They don't pull Marv because of the pick. This is all part of the plan. Harris will go in for a couple of series, and then they'll figure out who has the hotter hand, who has the better look in the eye that night.
Ja'Cory Harris really has played better on the road. His best games this year have come on the road, particularly in the second half. So expect tonight to see more Ja'Cory Harris.
He was the hero in that rally at Virginia, driving the Canes down the field 95 yards for a tying touchdown at the final minute, winning it in overtime. But he's the guy off the bench every game. James powers ahead. And Canes teams trying to get physical up front and move the pile to the 21. This touchdown again.
What's more impressive to me about this, he catches this ball. That's a bullet thrown from 7 yards away. Michael Johnson plucks it out of the air with his hands. There are a lot of wide receivers that would drop that ball.
And again, going back to that punt that Georgia Tech kicked in for the touchback, and then the penalty against Miami that backed him up, that put the pressure on the offense not to make a mistake.
Rare talent, but very common name. There's 500 Michael Johnsons on Facebook. 72 in the Atlanta phone book. You know that? In the I formation, Harris keeps it. Flips it downfield. Intercepted again. This is Rashad Reed. True freshman picking off true freshman.
Harris made the right read, but Reed was better than the route and the runner. Guarantee you, Jesse, when you watch this route here, the receiver is not going to work his way back and fight. LaRon Byrd, he's a true freshman. Look at him sit there, waiting on the football.
You have to attack the football and protect your quarterback, particularly when you're running out-breaking routes. That's a good comeback run when he gets to the top of his stem, but he's got to put his foot in the ground and attack the sideline to protect Ja'Cory Harris. He did not do that there.
Interceptions continue to be a problem for this Miami offense. 2 of them within a minute 20. So the Jackets at their 15, and Dwyer muscles free. Here's Jonathan Dwyer with the stiff arm. Pushed out of bounds after a 12-yard gain. As we check with Reese Davis in the Sports Center right now. Herbstreit's Bengals just continue to struggle on and off the field, don't they? 12 more. Dwyer already has 50 yards. Nesbitt pitches it to him again. And that time he's hit and dropped behind the line of scrimmage by Sean Spence.
Now, right now, old momentum is over clearly with Georgia Tech. So Patrick Nix has got to be thinking on that Miami sidelines, what am I going to do? I've had a quarterback make a mistake on back-to-back plays, and he can't allow this defense to stay out there that long. It's going to wear them out.
He had a chance there with that onside kick to get momentum, cut into this lead. And Nick's just hoping his offense can get it back quickly. 2nd and 12. And the Jackets take a timeout. Early 2nd quarter. 10-zip. Tech will be back. World's busiest airport. Hartfield here. It's where all the fans, you see them going to games on Friday, whether it's an SEC or an ACC game, all dressed up. And on Sunday mornings, many of us are strangling back home. You see them headed home too. Not the easiest place to travel.
This is unbelievable. Miami only has 3 interceptions all season long. Georgia Tech now 9 different players with the pick.
It's incredible. The Canes have only come up with 3 picks on defense. Nesbitt versus Field and dives across the 30. It'll be 3rd and short. He got 6 yards, and an offensive lineman is down on the field. Nick Clater, a freshman. Boy, they've been bagged up. Both regular starting tackles out tonight. David Brown and Andrew Gardner with injuries. Clater forced into duty as the starting left tackle, and now he's down on the field.
You know what? This offense, it takes timing, and you need reps to get consistent. Although we did ask Paul yesterday about it. He said, I've got some interchangeable parts where I can put guys up there, but he doesn't have a lot of depth.
He told us that his 5 best linemen have not had a chance to play together once this year. I think that explains a lot of the problems this team has had in protecting quarterbacks when they're passing. But man, oh man, to not have that consistency up front, that really hurts your offense.
You saw a shot of Brad Sellers. He's a junior, but a 3rd stringer really at the beginning of the week. And he's a 252-pounder. He's not a big tackle in Division I football.
But Paul Johnson wants to recruit guys who could play defensive line, that are more athletic and can move. That's okay. The problem with bringing in Brad Sellers is he may be a junior, but he's a first-year guy in this offense.
Well, and here's the deal. You got a 252-pound left tackle then, and you have a 254-pound right tackle in Austin Barrick. Austin Barrick's a guy that in the spring was playing the A-back. He was one of those wing backs.
Yeah.
And because of necessity and guys going down, they had to move him to tackle.
Not a normal conversion. Wing back to left tackle.
How would you feel if you were playing quarterback?
Well, that's what I was going to say. You sound like a quarterback worried about the numbers up front.
I'm feeling for Nesbitt right now.
Hey, you're saying, Craig, it's no big deal. The tackles are 250. I know he wants athletic linemen. That's a little light in the britches.
Yeah, it is pass blocking, but you see how they do the cut blocking and they get in there. Yeah. They're not challenging those big guys up top. They're cutting their legs out.
Well, let's see if this makeshift offensive line can do their job on 3rd and 5. Nesbitt on the roll, gets quick pressure, fires, incomplete. Wait, flying off the edge with quick pressure was the middle linebacker, Glenn Cook. Nesbitt had to get rid of it, and he's limping back to his sideline. He's still not right.
And I totally get what Coach Johnson's talking about with his quarterback, because mentally, I'm not sure that he could put that foot in the ground and grind it and power through it and make the throw.
You have to play with unconscious confidence at quarterback. You got to be able to throw balls, put your foot in the ground, and deliver and pull the trigger. You cannot play hesitant and be successful playing quarterback.
Deron Collier is the slot receiver in Miami's offense. Back to receive the punt of Scott Blair. It's a short kick. Collier lets it bounce, and it heads out of bounds. Almost looked like he hit one of the out men. Miami will take over near the 40-yard line. The Nittany Lions of Penn State win away from clinching a spot in the Rose Bowl if they can beat the Spartans. Regional action, 3:30 Eastern time on ABC, presented by Samsung Mobile. It's rivalry week, the Land Grant Trophy at stake, but that's not really what the Lions are focused on, trying to get their 800th win.
Oh, Penn State giving up a little bit over 100 yards a game on the ground. Can they control Von Ringer in that football game? That's going to be big.
They've been controlling a lot of good backs this season.
Sure have.
It's going to be cold in Happy Valley, too, on Saturday, they tell me. It's Corey Harris, back at quarterback, picked off last time and delivers to Johnson. And Darius Johnson, his high school teammate at Miami Northwestern, makes the catch at the 45 of Georgia Tech. All-State, ESPNU, BCS standings here, of course. Alabama getting set to take on Auburn, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma. And the Gators sitting here at number 4, licking their chops.
Big game right here as well. Utah maybe clinch a spot in the BCS game to get that win.
And they're home against BYU. There's Marv. He'll almost certainly come back into this game. Harris getting a couple of series, as is the pattern.
Ja'Cory Harris, I thought, so far, since he's been in the game, has played with great rhythm. He's throwing the football on time.
Even though that pick?
That wasn't his fault. His receiver had to help him out on that.
First down give to Cooper.
We've watched the ACC now week in and week out, and how the defenses around here, they come out and they dominate the offenses, and the offenses can't get it going. And if you got a 10-0 lead and you're at home, and Paul Johnson, now his strategy changes completely on offense.
Yeah, it's a little different league. They're used to watching the Big 12, the Pac-10, some other conferences. There's not a lot of spread offenses here. A lot of methodical offenses, very good conservative defenses for the most part that make you march the field. Harris has time, delivers, and Johnson can't come up with it. Threw it behind him, but again, he got his hands on it.
You see the Georgia Tech defensive linemen right here arguing, yelling at each other because there was a mix-up with the stunts up front in the line of scrimmage. Watch up top. You'll see guys twisting, bumping into each other, moving around, not able to get any pressure on the quarterback.
Johnson is Harris's high school teammate. Yep. And they've connected on a lot of passes through the years, but that's 2 times tonight that Johnson's had the ball in his hands. He's a good receiver, leads the team in receptions. He needs to come up with that play.
The receiver play has not been very good for Miami so far tonight. And it'll be 3rd and 9. Timeout taken by Georgia Tech. Here's the whiteout here. Not leaving the kids with grandma. Priceless. Huh?
Of course, you got to ask the kids.
Don't let them watch the kids.
Yeah, you got to ask the kids what they think about Grandma. That may be expensive to them.
It's the Canes who need some help here on 3rd and 9. Cooper to the right of Ja'Cory Harris. They bring pressure. Harris gets it away. Far side diving attempt by Johnson, and they give him the catch and a first down at the 32. He dropped a couple of easy ones. Did he make that tough catch?
Yes, he did. Boy, that was really, what a great job of Aldarius Johnson, who's had 2 drops tonight. Watch him drive and dive. Watch him work to the outside.
That's the second time Ja'Cory Harris has thrown a timing out route to his high school teammate Aldarius Johnson. Very impressed with the catch, but also with the poise and the confidence.
They'll review this, though.
Yep.
They'll take a look. Did that ball hit the ground? Did he have control?
No. The previous play is under review.
Did his knee get down? If he had control, a couple questions on that catch. What do you think?
I don't know. It looks like
Watch the football. Does it come loose in his hands before it hits the ground?
Did the ground help him procure the reception?
Yes, his knee did hit inbounds. I think the issue is going to be, did he hold to the ball? I don't think so.
Whether or not he had control or not. Let's see here.
The other one's more conclusive. I just don't think he had it.
Sean Reed gave him a little shove in the back just as the ball got there.
I'll tell you what, this is huge for Miami. If they overrule this, and all of a sudden they're forced to punt, that's at least the 2nd or 3rd time Miami's gone 3 and out or 4 and out.
Yep.
That defense is going to get tired. When you're playing Georgia Tech and they're running the ball the way they are, your defense needs rest. Miami better hope this thing stays the way it is so they can stay on the field, keep that defense rested.
And Johnson, 27 catches. They spread the ball around, but he is the leading receiver coming in. Had a catch in every game but one, and again was part of that Miami Northwestern high school powerhouse. 7 guys off that team last year with the Canes, including Harris and Johnson.
Well, Aaron Andrews reported in the pregame, talking to Randy Shannon and some of the players, that they felt like this was the biggest game in Randy's young career as a head football coach.
All right, most at stake for sure.
Sure.
I'm looking at this very carefully. Aaron?
And Chris, when I talked to Randy Shannon, I said, hey, some of the players are saying this is your biggest game as a head coach. And he said, come on. He goes, this is a big game, but next week is a bigger game. He's not buying into that.
Not. After review, the play stance is called on the field. We have a catch.
Woo. Okay.
All right.
If you say so.
Man.
Maybe they didn't see enough to overturn it. If that had been called incomplete, it would have been ruled incomplete on the replay.
Yeah.
So they do get the crucial conversion, and the Canes set up now inside the 33 of Tech. Another look.
Looks like he has possession right now. The question is, did the ground help him maintain possession?
Johnson will take it after a tough start to this game. You're still shaking your head, Craig.
I don't buy it. Not a catch.
Harris back to throw on 1st down. Looking downfield. On the break, Shields makes the catch and makes a man miss. And Sam Shields dancing out at the 10 in front of Mario Butler. So the junior, the veteran of this core, makes the catch.
You see what I'm saying? Ja'Cory Harris is playing with great poise and great rhythm right here. You're going to see Sam Shields work the double move comeback. You don't see that very, very often in offensive playbooks, but when your quarterback is throwing in rhythm and do an area, it's a great play.
You know what that means, Jesse? That means that defensive line that we've been bragging about, those 4 guys are not putting pressure on Harris, and he allows the time for that double move out there.
Shields, guys, had a tough year. He's been in the doghouse. He's trying to contribute on special teams. Only his 11th catch, but it's a big one. Sets him up 1st and goal, and here goes Cooper, lowering the head for a couple. Morgan Burnett, we're going to call his name all night. The Rover in on another tackle. So crucial for the Canes here, guys, to get 7, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. And this is an area where they've been good this year. They've always come away with points. 36 times in the red zone, they've come away with points in 38 drives. They've had 26 touchdowns. You see it right there, but you're right. You want to come away with points right now. Get some of that momentum back on your sideline.
23 touchdowns out of those 38. Not a real high percentage, but because Bosher is so automatic, they usually come away with something down here. On 2nd and goal, flag before the snap, no touchdown. A flag came out. Oh, those false start penalties. 7 in one game, 2 games ago against Virginia. That was Reggie Youngblood, the right tackle.
And then the next week they followed up because they had so much focus on it during practice. They didn't have any against Virginia Tech. So
that was at home, though.
Again.
Back on the road, you're more prone to them, aren't you?
It'll just make
7?
you pull your hair out if you're an offensive coordinator. You're
I'm not excusing 7 of them. That was amazing. They were spread around to 6 different guys. That makes this red zone trip a whole lot tougher now. Pressured, fires short, complete. Epps muscles to the 6-yard line. First catch for Diedrich Epps, the junior tight end.
Yeah, here on 3rd down now, you got to be smart about it offensively. Nix needs to dial something up with a chance to get to the end zone, but he doesn't want to mess it up where they can't at least get points on the scoreboard.
Absolutely right. And again, as an offensive coordinator now, you're wondering defensively, Dave Wommack going to play coverage or is he going to bring pressure? And if he does bring pressure, is Ja'Cory Harris comfortable enough in this offense to know where he has to go with it right away?
There's Craig Cooper. He's set wide, the bottom of the formation. 3 receivers to the left of Harris. Fires middle and batted down. There was some hesitation from the quarterback, Michael Johnson, in the neighborhood, and here comes a field goal attempt.
Well, you would really, when you study the film here, you're going to see that there's some blocking on the left side. They're only going to bring 4, and there's nobody in the routes getting in front of the vision of Harris.
Well, you know what scares Harris is big Michael Johnson there again. He's got those paws. He already took a pick back to the house, trying to work a double move inside to Kane Farquharson. Michael Johnson spooked Ja'Cory Harris on that play.
Matt Bosher, the sophomore, one of the steadiest kickers in the country. He's now made 13 of his last 14. 24-yarder. Gets the Canes on the board. 10-3 Georgia Tech. This camp is situated near downtown Atlanta. Here's the Atlanta Underground. Of course, this city will be the scene of the SEC championship game in a couple of weeks, and it'll be rocking. The Gators and the Crimson Tide, perhaps a de facto semifinal game for the BCS championship.
Both teams can win out. That's exactly what that football game becomes.
Very short kickoff. And it's Roddy Jones, the wingback. Roddy Jones gets a couple of blocks and barrels out across the 40. So good field position for Paul Johnson's offense. Arthur Brown making the tackle. NBA action on Friday, a doubleheader starting with the Rockets and the Wizards at 7 Eastern time, followed by the Hornets and the Thunder. NBA Friday also available on ESPN360.com.
Yao Ming, I see he got nicked up a little again. Rockets center.
How do you find time to follow the NBA?
Well,
you follow the Rockets?
Absolutely. Well, I grew up in Houston, so Houston. Yeah, I got a little bit of Rocket flair there.
I admire the fact that you even have time to check the standings. Dwyer's got it. Jonathan Dwyer breaking tackles. Throwing tacklers aside and headed for the end zone. Touchdown. 58 yards. Knows defense, but this is the best running back in the ACC in 2008. Had the 2 longest runs in the conference all year because of plays like that. He's strong, he breaks tackles, and with this defense, there's not much help back there, is there? Where are the safeties? Scott Blair gives Georgia Tech a 14-point lead. Dwyer already over 100 yards.
I can answer your question. Where are the safeties? There are so many different assignments when you're playing against an option football team that many times, and we watched it in our film study, the 3 of us yesterday watching the Florida State game. You have a great All-American in Rawl back there who is sometimes out of it. So when you look back here and you see these safeties, and as a linebacker, what you're going to see coming from the right side, first of all, poor tackling. Next of all, the safeties, Chris, you see them? They're so focused on the backfield, Jesse, they never see really what they're trying to do with the football.
You just saw Randy Shannon yelling at his outside linebacker, Romeo Davis. Romeo Davis was in charge of the dive on that play. He squeezed too far inside, lost his contain, and that's what allowed Jonathan Dwyer to get outside, and he was off to the races.
Romeo, we're out the Romeo.
Boy, and Anthony
Not in the right place.
And Anthony Reddick was the guy that was supposed to have had a big game. They were counting on him in the secondary to come up and make plays and tackles. You got to go low on Dwyer. He's strong, good-looking kid.
Diesel, they call him, huh? Boy, he is. He just throws tacklers aside. And at 228, he can move.
Came to Georgia Tech, was recruited by Paul Johnson to go to Navy, but said his eyes lit up when he found out Paul Johnson was coming back to Georgia Tech. All the running backs knew they were going to get a chance to get carries, and here Jonathan Dwyer is atop the ACC in rushing yards.
You can see career rushing touchdowns in the ACC. Dwyer, just a sophomore, but he's on the chart. He's going to have a whole lot of records if he sticks around here for 4 years. And the kick is taken at the 1 by Brandon Harris. And he's cut down at the 24. Canes back to work, down by 14 now as we check back with Reese Davis.
All right, CF, just a real quick peek over on ESPN2, the 2K Sports Classic benefiting Coaches versus Cancer, Duke and Southern Illinois. The Blue Devils right now working on a double-figure lead. Nice night for John Shire, who's into double figures. Winner gets the winner of UCLA and Michigan.
All right, thank you. There's a lot of excitement around Miami about the basketball team. Preseason top 20 picked, maybe third in the conference.
I can only follow the Rockets, CF. I can't go Miami basketball too.
I wouldn't ask you to go very deep. I was just making a little segue back to the football game here. It's Marv back in. Corey Harris had his 2 series, and now Marv tries to make something happen with his legs, but he'll lose a couple. Shane Bowen, the 3rd string linebacker, but they rotate a lot of guys in there.
Robert Marv did a great job last week against Virginia Tech with his legs. Ran for 44 yards in that game, was able to hurt that defense. He's going to have a very tough time tonight, though, because of how active this Georgia Tech unit is.
You see Randy Shannon working over there. This is the part of him that I really admire. He's a CEO now. He has his hands in the offense and the defense, and he can help put fingers in the holes right now.
He was talking again to Romeo Davis, but it's the Canes offense that needs to do something. Marv on 2nd down, delivers incomplete. Now Epps was well covered. Tony Clark's been active. There's not a lot there.
I've been saying now, we watched him last Thursday night, Virginia Tech. I haven't bought into this offense yet. That, to me, is the one missing link. Robert Marv, I watched him in the spring, and he was accurate. Ja'Cory Harris, accurate. It's there, but it's not happening this season.
And I guess the question is right now, if you're a fan, certainly you're wondering, why is Ja'Cory Harris not in the game right now? After the way he's played the last few possessions, why isn't he out there playing? If he's the hot hand, why wouldn't you just stick with him?
You may see him if things continue for Miami. On 3rd down, Marv trying to get the conversion. Pocket breaks down. Marv on the run. Fires downfield into traffic. Catch made. A dangerous throw. Aaron Collier didn't get the 1st down, but they were maybe lucky to avoid another interception.
Oh, man, outstanding effort here. I'm telling you, this is a wide receiver working for his quarterback.
Bottom line, Miami's punting again.
Watch him get knocked down, Jesse. Collier. Ooh. He gets knocked down. He gets back up, works for his quarterback.
And boy, just getting there late was Morgan Burnett. But it is Matt Bosher on the punt. It's a boomer. Woo. Andrew Smith driven back to the 15. And he'll be corralled at the 25. So a 10-yard return after a 53-yard punt. Darryl Sharpton making the tackle, but Miami's defense pretty much has to do something right here. The way the offense is playing, you can't afford to fall in a deeper hole.
You know, and Georgia Tech has had success gashing this Miami defense today, and that was a big question when Paul Johnson got here, bringing in the spread option attack. No, you can't have enough big plays in this offense. Well, Paul Johnson's been able to put those doubters to rest. They have 50 plays of over 20 yards coming into this game, 5 plays of over 66 yards heading in. We've already seen a couple long ones tonight.
Inside of 4.5 before halftime, as Nesbitt tries to add to this 14-point lead. Quarterback still keeps it. Nesbitt galloping into the secondary. Josh Nesbitt down to the 20. Romeo Davis got blocked. He chased down the quarterback who's playing on guts and a gimpy ankle. Another huge run by this Jackets offense.
Well, first of all, look out at your left tackle here, Claytor. Remember they had to carry him off a while ago. Watch the block at the point of attack. Body positioning, outstanding job, body on body.
Josh Nesbitt just gutting it out in a bad angle. Earlier in the year, Nesbitt ran for 151 yards against Virginia Tech. It was the most a Georgia Tech quarterback had ever run for in a game. So he's got the legs to be successful in this deal.
54 yards and a bad wheel. They have 208 rushing yards in this game. Dwyer corralled after a yard on Glenn Cook and Romeo Davis as we check back in with Reese.
All right, Chris, coming up on the Pontiac Performance Halftime Report, another week, another Big 12 showdown. We'll tell you what the keys will be for Oklahoma and Texas Tech, and the most ludicrous Dr. Lou episode ever, and we'll also decide whether coaches in waiting, good idea or bad idea. Mark and Lou will join me. We'll see you guys in just a bit.
All right, Reese, ludicrous and Dr. Lou in the same sentence.
Ludacris from Atlanta.
So is T.I., right? He's on the sidelines down here. Dwyer spinning inside the 10. First and goal, Georgia Tech. Watch the run by Nesbitt. He almost gets to the end zone before Davis can grab him. Is this by the hand warmer? Is that what he's grabbing here?
You know, hey, look at that. That's crazy.
Guess who that is making the tackle? That's Romeo Davis, who just got chewed out last series.
But how did he make the tackle? On the hand warmer?
What makes you think to grab onto that? What if it breaks away? What if it's a tearaway hand warmer? What the heck was he thinking?
That's all he could get a hold of.
That's a 10-yard drag. That's like a dog sled.
On first and goal, Dwyer down to the 5. Again, there's Romeo Davis, a more conventional tackle.
You know, you're talking about this offense, the big play offense here of Georgia Tech. The fact that they do it on the ground, it's misleading. You know, this is a team that explodes. They have big plays, and defenses just kind of lull them to sleep. But early in the game, Jesse, remember we saw the passing by Georgia Tech that surprised everybody?
It softened them up, and it's allowed some gashes inside. 223 yards on the ground right now for Georgia Tech running the football. They're almost at their season average for a game.
Second and goal. Dwyer powers ahead. Pushing toward the goal line. Touchdown. Joe Joseph is a 300-pounder, but he could not keep a hold of John Dwyer. And Romeo Davis in that defense getting taken to the woodshed right now by the Jackets' option running game. Dwyer is a load. He's slow to get off the field as Blair tries to make it a 21-point lead. Miami came in here feeling good about themselves, confident. They have a lot of work to do because the Jackets are going to get the ball to start the second half. And there's big guy Dwyer.
Think back to early in the game, Georgia Tech even rolled the dice, and they had the onside kick, overcame that. This offense and the power inside, you're not seeing defensive linemen make plays for Miami. And last week they did.
Greg, you're absolutely right. Jonathan Dwyer now has run for 128 yards, and I'd say the majority of those have come right up the middle. Again, going back to what Randy Shannon told us, when you play this style of offense, you have to take away the fullback on the dive runs, and this was the big run Jonathan Dwyer had outside. Aside from that, though, look, it's just been inside, and you see the power, you see the ability to get in open space, and there's the breakaway speed.
And go back to this point. This is a group of football players that were recruited to come here for completely different offense. And so imagine what Paul Johnson's going to have with these guys after another spring and working with them with this option offense.
Well, I think that's a good point. How much better will they be in the offensive line? Is more talented and better versed in this option attack.
And when the playbook can expand. We talked about those days at Navy when they could run more things because everybody had been in the system a couple of years. Just wait a couple of years when this young football team starts feeling it in the offense.
Look at the drive there, 228. There's a misconception that this is a methodical ball control offense. It's not. They actually have the ball less than their opponents on average. They strike pretty quickly because of the big runs they generate. This is Harris trying to make a play. And stopped at the 30. So the Canes a minute 52 to work with before halftime as we check the Applebee's weekend menu. Dominated, of course, by that showdown in Norman. And the game we talked about in Happy Valley. A different feel for Michigan-Ohio State. Never had a 3-touchdown underdog in that rivalry. And the showdown for Utah. I think BYU in that game, a dangerous spoiler.
Yeah, their tight end and is a great player, Pita.
Yeah, he's nicked up a little bit.
Well, how about Austin Collin?
I'll tell you the game I'm really interested in is watching the Ivy League. I read your column, Fowler. You got the 4-way potential tie coming.
Marv is dropped. Storming in is Ellis Ayebe. So that defense having their way as we check back. Buzz and the Jackets enjoying this one on senior night. Canes going backwards. 2nd and 20. And the clock ticking down. Marv will just take off. He's dropped by Michael Johnson. Long arms in that 6'7" frame. Aaron, the injuries starting to pile up on both sides.
Absolutely. Well, the one of concern right now, obviously, of Dwyer. I'm watching him right now. Chris Fowler. He's on the bench. They're looking at his left knee. This is serious stuff, Craig James. Listen to me. Stop laughing. They're looking at his left knee. Trainers are coming over and talking to him. Just getting the thumbs up right now. But, guys, for Georgia Tech's defense, Dominique Reese and Cedric Griffin, they are out tonight with left knee injuries.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews.
You're welcome.
There's a penalty, by the way. Michael Johnson is going to be flagged after the sack.
It's a dead ball. There is no foul on the play.
Okay, I take it back. They did throw a flag. We thought maybe flagging Johnson for celebration. He's doing that whole feed me thing that you see in the hip-hop video.
I'm not sure Paul Johnson had that feed me attitude deal at Navy. He's down there talking right now trying to figure out what that means exactly. But
I don't think the officials know what it means, that's for sure.
You know, in talking with Paul, though, he's cracking up. He goes, you know, I never really know if these guys are with me or not. He goes, when I first started coaching, he said, I knew I could look at a player and I could see he's glassy-eyed, you know, and I knew if my team was ready to go. Nowadays, he goes, I have no idea whether these guys are ready to play or not. Why is that? He just says, it's changed. Yeah, headphones, music, feed me. You know,
the Delta.
They're listed tonight. I think they're pretty dialed into the program offensively and defensively. This is a great performance for Georgia Tech. They said, hey, we're not spoilers. They can't control their destiny, but if they win the last couple, they got a shot. They're in there. Virginia Tech, Carolina as well. You can tell that Dwyer's concerned about his own knee. This is Marv. Fires into traffic, and Johnson makes the catch, but we're inside of a minute to go. Reed stops him. Not much urgency for the Canes. And just let things run down, and I don't think Johnson's in much of a mood to spend a timeout either.
We got just a moment. Now tell us about this Ivy League deal. Yeah, I was reading your column. So there's a 4-way potential tie.
You don't really want to know about the Ivy League.
It was interesting enough for you to write about it.
I got to fill space in the column. What's interesting is it could be a 4-way tie for the championship if Harvard beats Yale, if Columbia beats Brown, if Cornell beats Penn.
53 or something.
Isn't it enough to keep track of the ACC? You read about the Ivy League?
Just following you.
Fair catch at the 39 by Smith. 11 seconds before halftime. 35-yard punt. Jesse seems to be in the mood to reference hip-hop and hip-hop videos, and we're going to have Ludacris at halftime with Dr. Lou, and talked about T.I., Atlanta native down there. Outkast was here the other year on the sidelines as well. This is a hip-hop hub, obviously.
It is, and T.I., also a movie star, had a role in American Gangster alongside Denzel Washington.
We get different cultural references with Jesse than with Flutie. Have you noticed the difference in a year?
No question. Last year, you were naming Telebabies.
No, last year, Flutie was referencing like 70s movies. Really, it's a different era now. Jackets will just take a knee. What a first half. They'll get the ball to start the second half. Jonathan Dwyer just overpowering this Miami defense. And the Canes offense is smothered. 24-3 for the Jackets. Aaron Andrews talking to Randy Shannon has not been the start that he wanted in, quote, his biggest game ever.
Coach, first of all, how do you even stop Georgia Tech, over 200 yards rushing offense.
Well, we got to go back and we got to play assignment football. We had a couple of bust missed tackles up in the middle, and I think that's the biggest thing. We got to come back out and tackle the second half.
How do you even get your offense going at this point?
Well, we've been moving the ball. We just ain't converting on third downs. We're moving the ball up and down the field, but we get in a situation when we get third down and 3, third down and 4, and we just can't convert. So we got to go back and start converting on third down.
All right, Randy, thank you.
I don't know how helpless it is, but they are 2 for 8 on third down. Had just 136 yards offense at halftime. 24-3. Yellow Jackets lead at the break as we join Reese Davis, who holds Mark May, the Pontiac Performance. Nesbitt on the pitch. Dwyer gets nice blocks against the corner. Bangs off a man, and Jonathan Dwyer lowers the boom inside the Canes 25. See what his guys can do on 3rd and 3. Marv has time. Intercepted. Picked off. Heading for the end zone is Michael Johnson. And that's why the NFL scouts love number 93. In the I formation, Harris keeps it. Flips it downfield. Intercepted again. Dwyer's got it. Jonathan Dwyer breaking tackles. Throwing tacklers aside and headed for the end zone. Dwyer powers ahead. Pushing toward the goal line. Touchdown. The first half here in Atlanta, dominated by Georgia Tech's running game. 228 yards on the ground, and by the Jackets defense. A couple of interceptions. Chris Fowler, Greg James, Jesse Palmer, Aaron Andrews. The Canes rolled in there with a 5-game winning streak, in control of their destiny. In the ACC Coastal, they have had no control over this game tonight. How about 10.5 yards per play for the Jackets?
Well, that really, when you consider that Miami's doing it at 4.4, that's a
10 yards a play.
And you got Tech with a bunch of those big long runs, 29, 35, 58, 54.
Everybody thought Paul Johnson didn't have an explosive offense.
They said, as you see Jonathan Dwyer, 128 of those 228, a couple touchdowns in the first half. If we can make Tech march the field, control field position, we got a good chance. Well, they've had some long marches for touchdowns, and Roddy Jones takes the second half kickoff out across the 25 as we check the Home Depot coaching adjustments.
Well, I think we'd all three agree with this one here. Unless Miami comes up and starts tackling the ball carrier, there is nothing that their football team can do offensively to get back in this game, particularly on the inside. They've got to wrap up and make better plays.
Coming into this football game, 3 of Miami's 4 top tacklers were from the linebacker position. They have not been executing the fundamentals of tackling so far in this football game.
And it's a defense that, against a very different kind of offense last week on Thursday night, looked like the old Canes, just dominating Virginia Tech. Different style, different results so far. This is Lucas Cox, who's lined up in the B-back, but Nesbitt back to throw on first down. Pump fakes, takes off, and Josh Nesbitt lumbers for about 8 yards as we check down with Aaron Andrews.
Well, Chris, I had a chance to speak with Paul Johnson coming out from the locker room. He said he's happy with everything. The one thing he's concerned about, this scene right here, Jonathan Dwyer, he's on the bike right now because they want him to try to loosen up that left knee. Now, before the team went in for the half, I kind of tried to talk to Dwyer a bit. He was telling his teammates he didn't hear a pop in his knee. He gave me the thumbs up and said he was good to go, but the training staff for the Yellow Jackets have told me that they just need to watch him and make sure he's okay.
And they can have the luxury of being cautious, Aaron, with a 3-touchdown lead. Look how the tailback gets out of that 2-point stance in this offense. I'm going to ask you about that, Craig, as Nesbitt keeps it for a first down. Very old school, right? You see so many tailbacks up with their feet on their hands on their knees. And they got old school here at Georgia Tech.
They're at 3-point. They're wanting this fullback. You see how he's lined up there? He's got the close, bunched up feet. They're wanting him to come out of that stance and get downhill fast to the line of scrimmage. Now, I contended one year with my New England Patriots running back coach that from a 2-point stance, you could see the defense pre-snap read, and I could still get to the line of scrimmage just as fast. I think that's way too old school.
It reminds me of the old electric football. All the running backs had their hand down on the ground. You just don't see that a lot, do you? That's nuts. This is Jones on the pitch. He can't get the corner, hammered for a short loss. Good job by Sean Spence. Stephen Wesley, the defensive end, on the tackle. Gaines got to get the ball back quickly. They can't afford to spend a lot of time on the field.
I guess the good news for Miami's defense right now is while they have to try to figure out the spread option attack, they've only given up 1 touchdown in the second half over the last 3 games. So historically here in the last few games, Miami has been able to stiffen up defensively. Let's see if they can get a big stop here on this series.
The third quarter has been their best quarter all season. Nesbitt keeps it. Has a crease. In the lane, Josh Nesbitt has a first down. JoJo Nicholas, the safety, makes the tackle, but it was 11 yards downfield.
I would argue right now, Georgia Tech offensively has been so effective in all 3 phases of the option, whether it's the dive, the quarterback keeping it on the pitch, Craig, everything's been working.
You see, on the line of scrimmage, Ronnie Jones gets up on the line of scrimmage, not in his wingback slot, just a simple little tweak right there, but that allows him body position on the safety and the success of the run.
You guys see this, an early timeout by Shannon. He said, wait a minute, I've seen enough for 2 minutes and 16 seconds into the third quarter. Get on over here. That's a refresher course.
I used to have a coach.
They talk about halftime.
He said, look, boys, get on over here. We're going to have a come to Jesus meeting. And they get after it. Randy's good.
Right away, there was that lane and somebody not in their assigned spot on defense.
But don't you like that about him, Jesse?
Absolutely.
You know, Chris, we've known Randy a long time. Yep. And the guy, as a CEO, ultimate executive of this football program, has control of it.
Why would you wait till the end of the series when maybe it costs you 6 or 7 points? Burn a timeout. Get it corrected right now. Clip it in the bud. Get your guys back on the field. Start playing some D.
Yeah, you may need those timeouts. You think down 3 touchdowns, but he sees the urgency right here. Get this thing fixed. They can't afford to get farther behind. Nesbitt kind of colliding with Cox in the mesh point, but still falls forward for 4 yards. Marcus Robinson stopped him.
You know, we talked about it earlier, the mental stress that gets put on defenses when you play this type of offense. Someone's got to be in charge of the dive. Someone's got to take the quarterback, the alley, the pitch guy. And someone's got to be able to play action. You cannot take a play off mentally, because when you do, that's when you get gashed.
Second and 6. Boom. Big old Lucas Cox rumbling into the secondary. An absolute clinic in option football tonight.
That pressure you're talking about, Jesse, is really clear to see. Watch the middle, the center and the 2 guards. Watch what happens to the linebacker here as the ball carrier goes by. Watch the number 70 and 77. Center comes out, and he's on the legs of a linebacker.
Did you notice another big missed tackle there in the second line? Linebackers missing tackles. You see Randy Shannon looking, telling his guys, stay in your lanes, keep with your keys.
They hear him, but they're not doing it. And stop the fullback. That's 5 runs of 29 or more yards tonight. 5 of them.
The center, Dan Voss, 77. Funny story. Paul Johnson said before the game, he put on his bodysuit. And he says, Voss doesn't have one of them great bodies. He didn't have a Jesse Palmer body. And he said, so he goes in there and he puts the bodysuit on. And he says, Voss walks around in the locker room showing off. And he said, Johnson says, so I put my bodysuit in and walked in the locker room next to him and said, how do I look, big fella?
Hey, he plays better than he looks. One of the junior veterans at offensive line, and Nesbitt hit in the backfield. Good penetration by Glenn Cook, and Nesbitt spinning ahead for a yard. But you can stop a couple plays like that. You can look good as a defense, and then boom, the third play, they're running 50 yards downfield.
It's exactly what Craig was saying earlier. This offense, they kind of lull you to sleep a little bit. They throw the dive at you, the quarterback keeps it, you think it's contained, and all of a sudden, bam, one guy takes a snap off, and it's off to the races.
Why don't more teams run this?
Well, you know what?
Could you mimic what
you got to have a Paul Johnson mind. You know, I look at this offense, how I look at Mike Leach's offense with his mind for what he's doing right now. They both get it done. They're creative.
Nesbitt firing for the end zone. Thomas, jump ball off his fingertips. Bruce Johnson defending.
And you know, the advantage that Johnson has in recruiting is now he's going to go out and get these great running backs, get 4 good running backs, maybe one of them works. Maybe the other one doesn't. They put him at the B back or A back.
Thomas is 6'3", but that was just a little too tall. Catchable ball, but I don't think he would have been in bounds anyway. So here comes Scott Blair for a 30-yard field goal attempt. Tech able to take the second half kickoff. Chew up at 4:45 and add 3 points to the lead. Seems like every time the Canes get the football back, the mountain gets higher. 27-3. Back at the 404, downtown Atlanta with the hometown Yellow Jackets. They have a 27-3 lead over Miami. Georgia Tech a slight favorite despite Miami's ranking. The Canes playing their first game as a ranked team in more than 2 years. That worked out well so far.
We should have known that Miami was going to struggle tonight when you're ranked ahead of your opponent
on Thursday night. It's been the theme.
There's 6 first downs for this Canes offense. If they have any shot, they really need to do something here, wouldn't you think? Quickly.
Yeah, quickly also.
What do you think Frank Beamer's sitting in Blacksburg right now saying, why didn't I get this Miami opponent last week?
He didn't run this offense. And if Georgia Tech can hold this lead, it's going to really make things confusing. We'll try to help you as best we can sort out the ACC race, because there's not going to be much clarity after tonight, that's for sure. Brandon Harris at the 5. Gets the corner. And it was dropped at the 33-yard line. Here's the drive chart for the Canes. Pretty ugly. A couple of picks. Did get the field goal and then 2 punts.
See all these 3 and outs? That's bad.
Yeah, I think this far right column, that's bad.
That's not good.
It's all bad. He got the 153-yard drive, and he couldn't get the end zone. And you kind of sense they needed to get 7 there because they weren't going to get there very often, right? So Robert Marve back on offense. Neither quarterback has been very effective for Miami tonight. And it's Craig Cooper. He takes it, deep handoff. Cooper dropped for a loss. That's been another storyline tonight. Besides the trouble stopping the run, they've had no running game themselves.
Well, that defensive line now, Georgia Tech starting to heat up, put a little pressure on that offensive line. And these 2 quarterbacks, though, for Miami, I don't think, Jesse, they're seeing the game. Right now, it's a train wreck out there.
Well, it's funny. Remember what Patrick Nix told us about his young quarterbacks, about how sometimes going into a game, one of them won't have their head into it,
yeah,
and he won't find out till it's too late. Here they are. They're on the road, hostile environment, very good defense.
Which guy's got his head into it tonight?
Doesn't look statistically like either one.
Marv pressured. Fires downfield. Has Epps, who makes the catch at the 36. So a good throw in the run, and the tight end went up and got it.
You know what? This Epps kid is a player that they say has the total package. Left side of your screen, hooks up just on the middle, stays active with the play, takes off deep. Johnson comes short. Nice execution.
And as an offense, that's what you need right now. You're down by a bunch of points. You just need a spark. And the only way to get that sometimes is a guy going up and making a play.
After the 30-yarder, Marv fires short, off the hands and incomplete. It was dropped by Theron Collier. It continues to be a rough night for the Miami wide receivers. Fortunate that wasn't picked off on the Karam. A lot of high throws tonight, too.
You like the fight song here at Georgia Tech. I
love it.
2 years in a row now, you know the words.
Some of them. They're very entertaining words. I think it's the most underrated fight song. Cooper sidesteps a tackler and muscles forward for 3. And it'll be 3rd down and 7. There's the Jackets defense.
I think there's a little carryover effect from John Tenuta's presence here with this defense. They're aggressive. Dave Womack has come in here and done an outstanding job of matching his scheme to the players.
And his players really respond well to it. It's a scheme that's multiple. They can play a lot of different coverages, and that's spelled doom tonight for these young Miami quarterbacks. They've been mixing it up, trying to confuse Robert Marv and Ja'Cory Harris.
Yeah, it's much more about confusion than it is blitzing and pressure as compared to Tenuta's defense, and a different demeanor. Womack's a very quiet guy.
False start, 74. offense. It's a 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
Second false start for the Canes offensive line. It was Orlando Franklin. The guys were saying when Katuda was here, of course, he's at Notre Dame now, co-coordinating Charlie Weiss's defense. You could hear him 150 yards away. Womack, much different.
You know what was good about Womack, though? Yesterday we walked in the meeting and he coached against me and you, right?
How many coaches do you think have done that?
I don't know.
He remembered, didn't he? Did he shut you guys down?
Not us. He gave us headaches.
Marv has lots of time, pumps a couple times and fires downfield. He had Collier breaking open. Chris Zellner, the tight end, was also in the neighborhood. And it's fourth down. Consider going for it here?
Yeah, just too far. It's too long on fourth down. And
what are you looking to do? Put your defense back on the field? Now they're going to go for it. Yeah. Marv's still on the field. Don't you have to? I mean, it's 27-3.
Yeah. Down 24. Make a play. You need a spark. Send a message to your team. Hey.
They've been good on fourth down. They're 9 of 13, but this is from 13 yards away.
I mean, the division's on the line in tonight's game in a lot of purposes.
Here's Sam Shields out here. That's a guy that has some big playability. We've not heard his name all night.
Marv has lots of time. Fires over the middle. It's caught. It's a first down to Collier with ducks inside the 20. So no pressure. Lots of time for Marv and a 21-yard catch.
Interesting as well from Dave Womack. When they've been putting pressure on Robert Marv tonight, they've had their most success defensively. This time they're content to sit back, play zone coverage. Theron Collier doing a nice job finding a soft spot, showing a nice target for Robert Marv.
Crucial conversion for the Canes here. And they're a man short on offense. There's a receiver running on the field late. And he doesn't know what to do. He kind of gets in the way. And it's a touchdown. Wow. Confusion on both sides. There is Epps. Scores from 18 yards out. Number 18 finds the end zone. Running in there very late was Kane Farquharson, lined up in the backfield.
I'll tell you what's incredible about that. I don't know if Kane Farquharson knew who to block, but here he is on the right side. He just kind of finds the white jersey that comes free. He gets over, and he's able to get in Tony Clark's way.
Wouldn't you guess that he probably was on the sidelines and knew that they were short and just happened to run on the field?
There are probably running backs that don't understand those protections. Kane Farquharson comes in and picks it up.
You could see Nick's running over there. There was plenty of confusion on the sidelines. He told Farquharson to get in there and just get in the backfield. And his blitz pickup allows Marv to find Epps from 18 yards out. Miami has life. The Jackets lead cut down to 17, third quarter. That is an Atlanta institution, the Varsity, the world's biggest drive-in. 600 cars, 800 people inside. That's right up your alley, James.
Oh, man, and I am hungry. I didn't eat before the game tonight.
It's like a couple blocks from the stadium here, and very, very crowded before and after game. So you get to go in there with your suit and tell them who you are and cut the line or something.
That'll do me a lot of good.
Roddy Jones. And the short kick, breaks a couple of tackles, gets across the 25. The Jackets go back to work as we check the race.
Chris, not much running room on that kickoff return, but for the Pontiac game-changing performance of the week, there was just enough room for USC's C.J. Gable against Stanford on the farm. Cardinal bidding for a second straight upset of the Trojans. Gable takes this kickoff back and secures the $5,000 in the General Scholarship Fund for the University of Southern California. Got 39% of the vote. You can vote every week. Log on to ESPN.com, search Pontiac, and also enter for a chance to win a scholarship for yourself.
Tight vote there, Reese. Thanks. First down carry. Keeper by Nesbitt. Marcus Robinson grabbed him after 3 yards. Let's another look at that touchdown, the confusion on the top of your screen. Watch as you're making the late run on the field is Kane Farquharson. It was supposed to be Collier. There comes Farquharson.
And I think because he was so late, even the defense got confused, right? Because the offense didn't know what they were doing.
And Tony Clark, the outside linebacker, is licking his chops, thinking this receiver's never going to see me coming off the edge, but he gets picked up.
And Edge got wide open in the end zone. Nesbitt starts left, comes back to right, pitches. Jones stutter steps his way to midfield. So Dwyer still nursing that knee, and it's Roddy Jones who picks up the workload, and he gains 20.
A counter option. We used to see Syracuse kind of run the freeze option. You remember that? Donovan McNabb. Look at the pitch relationship of Jones. What a great job of getting to the spot where the pitch is going to be made.
And watching this offense run, the running backs all do a really good job with those fundamentals. They're very precise and exact.
It's Romeo Davis, who's had a tough night. Chewed out by his coach. Made that funky tackle on Nesbitt with a hand warmer. Now he's down on the field. This is just no fun to play defense against, is it?
No, we talked about it watching the study, and Florida State, they struggled with it.
You sure did.
You know, great players are negated by this type of offense, and that's why when you look at the upside in the future for Paul Johnson and Georgia Tech, it's big.
No, it sure is. I mean, they're going to improve the offensive line. They've already got great backs. We'll take a break. The enormous impact Saturday night for the BCS, the Big 12 South, the Heisman Trophy, Texas Tech, Oklahoma. Red Raiders can clinch the division with a win. Sooners, if they win, still some work to do. They visit the Cowboys. You talked a lot about, obviously, Harrell and Bradford and the receivers. What about the running backs? What about Brown and DeMarco Murray, Baron Batch, Woods for Texas Tech? Which tandem of running backs will have more success?
I think it's a push. They both have really good running games.
Underrated aspect. This is a really good running game. And this on the corner is Roddy Jones. Roddy Jones weaving through people inside the 10. 40 more yards. An old-fashioned beatdown here.
You know what? If you go back and you look at the A-back and the arc block, watch what happens right here. Watch out this delay and coming out with the block. Embry Peoples, freshman. If you can do that, if you can't do that, you won't play that position.
We've seen so many different variables of the option tonight, haven't we? Nothing has been the same. Everything Paul Johnson has dialed up has been working.
Look at those averages per carry. Every carry. First and goal. Nesbitt has it, and he's dropped by Glenn Cook. It's even hard to tackle, Nesbitt behind the line, even though he doesn't maybe have that explosiveness on the bad ankle, but he's strong guy.
Well, he came in tonight's game rushing for 498 yards on the season. That's the second highest total ever for a Georgia Tech quarterback, and his story is really incredible. He threw the ball 90% of the time in high school, came to Georgia Tech because it was a pro-style offense. That's what he liked. Was going to play and actually play under Patrick Nix, who's now the coordinator at Miami, but he's fit in really well under Paul Johnson's spread option attack.
Second and goal. They pitch it, and Jones evades a tackler in the backfield, hammers a hard-earned 1-yard loss. Stephen Wesley initially got there.
Marcus Robinson
wrapping him up.
You talk about this offense, and I guarantee you the Georgia Bulldogs better get cinched up on defense. It's at Georgia, but this offense and this football team will have a lot of confidence going in, playing between the hedges.
Number one goal, right? They said Paul Johnson brought here number one goal, beat Georgia. They've lost 6 in a row. That's what cost Chan Gailey a lot of support here, perhaps ultimately his job. Third and goal. Waltzing down to the 2-yard line is Lucas Cox. Quick burst, and then diving over was Ryan Hill to cut him down and save a touchdown. It'll be 4th and goal just outside the 1, and you know what the fan want him to do.
I look at the point of attack and the lack of getting off blocks. That defensive line at Miami baffled.
Lucas Cox thought he had a touchdown. A dive of the ankles by Ryan Hill, but they will go for it on 4th down.
I think Paul wants time here to think about this.
Do you?
Yeah.
You set Nesbitt to the huddle inside of 7 seconds on the play clock. Man,
timeout.
No call it. Think about what? You got to go for this. Come on.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. But just think about the play.
Georgia Tech, over 400 yards total offense, 360 on the ground. I mean, this is a stunning blow for Miami's defense. I think that, Bill Young, the veteran coordinator, has seen his unit improve in this 5-game winning streak. They've held just about everybody down, but they didn't expect to see this.
It's a different attack tonight. You mentioned all those offenses that Bill Young's side has been able to hold now. They held Tim Tebow in Florida to 87 yards rushing, Texas A&M to 85 yards, Virginia to 71. They held all these teams under. They held Darren Evans last week to 43 yards after he set a school record with 253 against Maryland. Yeah. Different animal today in this option.
Absolutely. Completely different animal. Now, Bill Young, this is not his first rodeo, and he's seen the option before. Talking to Paul Johnson before the game, Paul said, you know what, Craig, sometimes you'll see defensive coordinators, they'll see somebody else maybe have a little success against us. Yeah. Virginia Tech, for instance, Bud Foster used 2 nose guys right on the center. Florida State tried to duplicate it. Didn't work for Florida State, worked a little bit for Virginia Tech.
So 4th down, ball just outside the 1-yard line. Dwyer not in there. It's Lucas Cox lined up in the B-back position. Roddy Jones in the slot. Nesbitt keeps it and dives into the end zone. Big fun on senior night in Atlanta. A long night for the Canes defense.
Watch the leverage. And leverage meaning, the angle of the block. The defender has no chance. I mean, that.
Josh Gilbert, the guard, diving across there. Scott Blair boots it through. 34-10 Yellow Jackets. They punted only twice tonight. What are you guys giggling about?
I just like the way Craig ended that.
That's just like ridiculous. Look at this guy blocking down. The left guard just drills him. Howard.
Legal block?
Legal block, absolutely. Okay. This offense is designed to get the angle for the offensive blocker, and they position it by getting motions. They just out-funk them tonight. Keith.
Tech could have 3 guys over 100 yards if this keeps up. Dwyer, you have to figure, maybe done for the night with that knee. They don't really need him, obviously. Nesbitt with 91. Roddy Jones, 89 yards on the ground.
Well, Paul Johnson told us, really, the philosophy behind the spread option attack is to get players in space, and that creates the big plays. You've seen it tonight. Guys get out in open areas. When there's only 1 or 2 guys that can tackle you and you break them, they're gone. And they've done it all game long. It doesn't matter what quarter it's been. They've gotten almost stronger as the game's gone on.
There will be a lot said about this offense coming out after this ball game around the country. A lot of folks are going to forget that this defense played pretty darn well as well.
People look at this and they go, how did this offense only put 7 on the board against Carolina? Turnovers. Yeah. They stopped themselves with some fumbles. That's been the thing that Paul Johnson knows. If they could just cure the turnover problems, because they've had 22 of them. That's a lot. If they didn't have those 22 turnovers, this team would be leading the division in command of it. This is Harris. He is hammered at the 25 and pushed back. Tony Clark, great job at linebacker, and he's also been a special team stud tonight. Again, the NBA doubleheader tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Rockets, or James Rockets against the Wizards. Hornets and the Thunder following at 9:30 Eastern time. ESPN360.com. Also, where you can find NBA Friday.
I think the Rockets put it on the Hornets the other day. I'm pretty sure. We saw John Barry walking around in here. Have to get a little bit more of it. They did. Yeah, there you go.
You say so.
He's still looking for a seat.
Wait a minute. Is he recruited other NASA wannabes in the house tonight, besides our friend from before?
I think Bill Young would like a trip on the space shuttle right now.
As an incompletion, a low throw by Marv. He was trying to find Devon Johnson. Oh, no.
You would think that
that's not a good resume for NASA right there. Just
I think he's been doing it for 4 quarters, almost entire 3 quarters.
That's what I'm thinking. Wouldn't the pregame stuff wear off at some point?
He's on fire.
Marv batted down at the line of scrimmage. Once again, big old Michael Johnson with the range, not get it down. Check back with Reese. What do you got?
Chris, get you up to date on the 2K Sports Classic benefiting Coaches versus Cancer. UCLA and Michigan on ESPN2 playing in Madison Square Garden. The winner will get Duke. Duke a winner over Southern Illinois early tonight. So college hoops in high gear.
All right, thanks, Reese. It's not over for Randy Shannon and the Canes, even if they lose this game tonight. Still in the division race. Marv, lots of time. And he takes off. That's been his best run of the night. He hasn't been able to create plays with his legs, and that's usually a component of the Canes offense.
Georgia Tech all night defensively has done a good job of keeping Robert Marv in the pocket, not letting him get to the perimeter where he can hurt you with his legs.
That gets him back to -4 yards rushing. He didn't quite get the first down, so it'll be another 4th down play. They need to get just across the 35. And they're going to put him in the shotgun. He's going to throw on 4th and a foot. And it's complete. And now bobbled in traffic. And a scrum for it at the 45. Now the ruling comes incomplete. No catch. Zellner couldn't hold it. And no conversion. And no running play on 4th and a foot.
And another 4 and out now. This Miami defense is going to be exhausted. You see Robert Marv here in the pocket. He's just trying to go over the football.
But what's the call? I mean,
yeah, you know what? Well, if the umpire doesn't get in the way,
you got Javaris James there, though. I know, Craig, but you got to convert that.
And Javaris James is a powerful guy. Get under the center, and then that's why I've said early, back in the first quarter, you ask about this offense. There really is no rhythm. There's no identity yet. They're trying to figure out
they have so little faith in their ability to move the interior defensive line.
Obviously, or a lot of respect for that defensive line at Georgia Tech.
Jackets take over inside the 35. Nesbitt, he's going to throw on 1st down. Looking downfield for Thomas. Jump ball. Couldn't quite make the catch. Had it in his hands. He beat Bruce Johnson. And Paul Johnson wants more.
How about Paul Johnson going for the jugular and sudden change? He's going up to his big wide receiver, and I love the call. Get a 6'3" guy matched up on a smaller corner.
Oh.
You cannot throw that any better. If you're Josh Nesbitt, you put that right up where he can go get it.
Wasn't Thomas, though, using his right hand to kind of keep at bay the defender?
A little bit,
and
yeah.
He's got to catch the ball, and he has been their most consistent receiver so far this year. Thomas getting the one-on-one. Just couldn't pull it off.
The reverse option. Nesbitt cuts back inside and ducks under for about 4 yards. Only thrown 6 passes tonight. But when they do throw, it's usually to Demaryius Thomas. And because he gets single coverage, you do have the chance as a receiver in this offense to make big plays if you can hold on to the ball.
Well, you do, because with all those running plays, these receivers and these wing backs are stalking the defensive backs. They're always kind of running up there, trying to match up to get these blocks. All of a sudden, they kind of stutter up, they mosey in, and boom, putting their foot in the ground, and they're running by you. Again, lulling you to sleep.
Need 8 on 3rd down. And Lucas Cox rumbling. Forget about it. Touchdown Tech.
All right, let's watch the linebacker. You've got to get linebackers over into his lane, and you get cut off into it. The blocking up front prohibits the linebacker that gets hidden inside from getting to his lane responsibility, and it's an easy touchdown.
Lucas Cox joining the club. Can they get 400-yard rushers in this game? The way things are going. Scott Blair boots it. 32 yards, and Cox has 72 yards rushing. Now, there's a real chance you could have 400-yard rushers in this game. 4. What a nightmare for Miami. They go on the road next week. Will not face the option against NC State, but this has been just a nightmare in what he hoped would be a showcase game, Randy Shannon. Fight song I like so much. It's played a lot tonight. They talk about whiskey and bourbon in there. It's salty old Southern fight song, you know?
Yeah.
They take a shot at the arch rival, Georgia, in there. If you read the lyrics, I'll get you the lyrics. We'll have time in the fourth quarter.
Okay, good.
I'll teach it to you before it's done.
I like it.
Let's go to the Coastal now. Miami again came in just needing to win this game and beat NC State. Had a chance, actually, to clinch this thing on Saturday if they'd won tonight and some other things that happened. Instead now, looks like the Jackets are going to jump up to 5-3, and Georgia Tech will be finished. This is their last conference game. They'll be in the clubhouse, but it's a long way to go. All these teams, they will not be sorted out now till November 29th.
Well, Georgia Tech, if they win tonight, they need North Carolina, Virginia Tech, and Virginia to lose at once. And one of those things is going to happen because Virginia Tech is going to play Virginia.
Yeah.
So one of the three.
Yeah, but you got a chance at a four-way tie still.
It's a long way to go.
I mean, it's way too complicated, seriously, to go through it. The first tiebreak is head-to-head among the teams tied. And the Canes, you know, among that group, would fare pretty well. Now, they beat Virginia and Virginia Tech. But it's too complicated to sort out.
Yeah, you know what? People ask around the country, what do you think about the ACC? Are they any good? I think there are a lot of good teams. No great teams, but some good teams in this conference.
It's still the only conference where all 12 teams can become bowl eligible. Lots of parity.
It's amazing, isn't it? Blair to kick it off, and this is Ryan Hill who fumbles the kickoff, tries to come up with it and gets clocked at the 15. I mean, Tony Clark has been down on almost every kickoff, covering it, making plays on defense, one of the unsung stars tonight.
I'm sitting here, and an observation for me at least, a takeaway other than the ground game tonight, is that Georgia Tech is well coached and they play hard and fast.
Paul Johnson told his team, good teams don't lose twice in a row.
Gators fan there, Jesse, by the way.
Well, the Gators having a good year so far.
He's here early for the game against
Well, he's not worried about the Gators playing the Citadel this week, obviously.
Oh, what is that? Cooper cuts it back. Craig Cooper gets 10 yards. And Clark another tackle.
Hey, you know, playing the Citadel, what does that do? A little bit of a hit they'll take in the computer rankings.
Tell you what,
right?
though.
Yeah, but they're fine.
They're okay.
They beat Alabama and Florida
It's going to be a close race. And you know what? You're starting to see coaches now starting to posture and position themselves in the lobbying platform for where they should be at the end of the year.
Well, and if you're Florida, that Citadel game, the only thing that can come out of that is bad news, I think, because guys can get hurt. It's one of those games where don't be surprised if Urban Meyer starts pulling starters early. They got a big game with Florida State following that matchup.
Marv spins out of the pocket, gets a block against Clark on the corner and runs out, but still loses 2 yards. A graphic pointing out that Miami giving up the most rushing yards in 35 years. And we got a quarter plus to go.
And, you know, we came into this game, I think I speak for us, our crew, that had a lot of respect for Miami's rush defense that was giving up 106 on the ground per game.
I mean, the record could be threatened. That goes back to World War II against Auburn. Wow. The Jackets aren't going to let up. They're just going to keep running the same plays. If you don't tackle, they'll have 600 yards rushing. Marv fires. It's Cooper for about 6.
I think a difference tonight, Georgia Tech defensively tackled very well. They've had a lot of bodies swarming to the football. We talked to some of these players earlier. We talked to Daryl Richard. He said they were doing rap drills in practice where they wouldn't let go of the play wasn't over until the ball carrier was wrapped.
W-R-A-P, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
right, okay.
Until they get wrapped, the plays weren't done. They're doing a good job tackling tonight.
Because they've been doing some rapping on the sidelines, too, of the R-A-P kind. Marv on third down fires, incomplete. Almost picked off on the carom. Well, Darius Johnson couldn't get it. Aaron, down to you.
Hey, Chris, we talked about the beginning of the game, just Miami talking about how cold it is. Well, now that they're down big time here, guys are standing by these heaters. This is the first time I've seen them trying to get warm. Guess what, guys? These heaters aren't even on. So it's not getting better right here by the chill zone, I'll tell you that.
Do they know that? That thing is just a metal box?
Oh, yeah, and now they're starting to say, hey, guys, can we turn these on? They're just starting to notice it's a little chilly out.
Bosher on the punt. That's not good news when they start whining about the lack of heaters, right? And that's a shank. It's all going wrong. The normally reliable punter, Matt Bosher, he's had, you know, occasional shanks. And the Jackets offense, like they didn't have enough success already, takes over at the 44, 12-yard punt.
So they're at 395 yards rushing right now. Jonathan Dwyer, when he was in the ball game early on, up the middle, really accentuating those poor tackling habits of Miami's defense, not getting to the ball, not wrapping up, not getting the legs, and then on the outside as well.
It doesn't matter who's been carrying the football tonight for Georgia Tech, whether it's Lucas Cox, Roddy Jones, Josh Nesbitt, Jonathan Dwyer. Again, everything Paul Johnson's calling is working.
Yeah, now Nesbitt's been lifted. Jabo Shaw, the true freshman backup, number 11, in to run this offense. And they hand it straight ahead for a short gain. 15 minutes to play, mercifully, for Miami. 41-10. What a showcase for Paul Johnson's offense. 41-10. We start the fourth quarter here in Atlanta. Chris Fallon, Craig James, Jesse Palmer, and Aaron Andrews. And Jabo Shaw just hands it ahead to Lucas Cox. Jabo's played a couple of games when Nesbitt's been injured. Paul Johnson knows he needs to keep number 9 healthy for the stretch. We'll rest him in the fourth quarter. This guy, didn't have great success his first year at Navy. Not like he's having this year. They were 2-10 and then turned it around quickly and won 8 games, 10 games, 9 games, 8 games in the subsequent years.
Paul Johnson's won everywhere he's been. Look at this. Only Tom Osborne and Barry Switzer have won more games in their first 12 seasons. Everywhere Paul Johnson has been as a head coach, he's won.
Shaw on the keeper, and old Jabo Shaw diving forward. First down at the 31. Georgia Southern, 3 straight Division I AA championship games, won 2 titles.
I think the conversation of Coach of the Year, he's certainly on the short list.
Well, he's at Navy 6 years. They go to the bowl game 5 years. In 2004, his Navy team goes 10-2. And Paul Johnson wins the Bobby Dodd National Coach of the Year award, so he's won it.
I don't think you're right, Craig. He would have to be on the short list of contenders this year, especially if they could beat Georgia. Shaw, pitch behind the man, and it's a fumble. Embry Peebles, true freshman to true freshman, they mess up the pitch, and it's one of the rare instances of poor execution tonight. Their first turnover, and Daryl Sharpton recovered it.
Jesse, watch here the pitch relationship. He had to pitch it back. Peebles wasn't in the spot where he should have been, and Jabo Shaw has to re-clutch the ball and try to kick it back to him.
Well, that's now the 18th fumble on the year loss for Georgia Tech. Heading in, they had 17. That was second worst in the Football Bowl subdivision.
And you can see there's a clear drop-off when Nesbitt leaves the game. You wonder how this offense put 10 points on the board against Gardner-Webb. Well, Nesbitt wasn't in there that game. And that's really the defense that done the best job at limiting the Yellow Jackets. It's Ja'Cory Harris at quarterback for the Canes. Javaris James hammers ahead for about 9.
Number 5, Javaris James on the carry.
Building blocks at the University of Miami. Randy Shannon was telling us how he started back in the spring and then early in the fall, and just taking a handful of plays and repping them and then scrimmaging at the end of that first week, making sure that the players understood what they were trying to accomplish there. So this is a building process, a very young Miami Hurricane team.
James on the delay. Fights forward and is near the first down at the 44. Also mentioned that it's been a successful season off the field. Miami, a long history, everybody knows about it, and Shannon brought in to instill the kind of discipline. What he's been able to do is get guys to buy into the importance of the season, so they haven't messed up. No off-the-field transgressions at all, because they care about the season. They don't want to ruin it for themselves and their teammates, and that's been a big thing, accountability.
It's a very young team, but a very mature team.
They did get the first down. Harris fires far side into traffic. Reed went up over it, almost had a chance at the pick, but Richard Gordon, third string tight end, makes his first catch.
How about this here, 22? Got to give a little shout out there to Cooper Taylor. His dad and I, Jim Bob, played at SMU together, and Jim Bob wasn't there as tall as his son Cooper. True freshman.
Lanky guy, 6'4", $195. He made a huge play. It was against Florida State. The Noles were going in for a winning touchdown run, and Cooper Taylor ripped the ball out of the hands, and it saved the game here.
His dad had huge biceps. All he ever did was curls, and he wanted to fight anybody that looked at him the wrong way. Guy out of South Texas, I think San Antonio area. Jim Bob would get after you.
That reminds me of hanging out with you when we were out in the D2.
I hope we get some more Jim Bob stories in the fourth quarter as Harris runs for 5 yards and we check back. Race, thanks. How come in Texas, Craig, everybody's got two names? Jim Bob, isn't either name good enough? Harris Epps makes the catch and is cut down at the 31. He'll be a yard short of the first down. Mario Butler there to cut him down. Right, Jim or Bob, but why has it got to be Jim Bob?
Well, just because
Bobby Jack Wright, you know.
Yeah, Bobby Jack Wright. And what a character he is.
Billy Joe Tolliver.
Of course.
Yeah. People used to holler at me, Jesse Craig, get over here. I was like, I'm coming. I think they just want to be polite, want a little bit more time for conversation.
Your real first name was Jesse, huh?
Jesse, yeah.
That's be too confusing up here.
Yeah.
And third and short. First down yardage for Javaris James.
Well, that's the crazy thing. His real first name is Jesse, so he'd be Jesse James. My middle name is James, so I'm Jesse James Palmer. So we'd have two Jesse James in the same booth.
Yeah, I'd check out. Aaron didn't use her real first name. What's with this crew? You know Colt McCoy's real name? That's speaking of Texans. Harris flips it short. James, the one-handed catch. Javaris James, some good downfield blocking, and he cuts inside the 15-yard line. I caught you off guard with that little trivia question.
Well, I'm thinking, I've seen it. I cannot believe out of Jim Ned Tuscola, Texas, Colt, man, nickname on him is
You're not going to get it. He was actually born in New Mexico. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
Born across the border. Daniel.
Colt Daniel.
But Colt's a better quarterback name.
Oh yeah.
You gotta be good. If your name's Colt and you're the trigger guy, you better be good. And he is.
Why not? It's also a good name playing in that state. 10:28 to play. Harris fires over the middle, catch made, and a touchdown. Leonard Hankerson, the sophomore, makes his first catch and finds the end zone.
To me, when Ja'Cory Harris has been in the ball game tonight, this offense has been much more fluid, and they've been moving the football way better. We haven't seen Ja'Cory Harris that much, but when he has been in tonight, I think he's done a very, very nice job of managing the football game.
He had the pick, and again, you put that on Bird, not on him.
I always put him on the receivers, though. You guys know that.
He did, though.
You're going to go for two here. That's what the book says, right? When you're down 25, you go for two. Empty backfield. Four receivers for Harris, who looks to his right, fires to the end zone, and over the head. No chance at all for Devon Johnson to make the play. Check the touchdown. Corey Harris, perhaps something to build on for next week's game at NC State. Welcome back to Atlanta. Bobby Dodd Stadium situated on, yes, Fowler Street. And I promise you I didn't give a dime to get that name. The USF Bulls, by the way, also, their complex sits on Fowler Street down in Tampa. NASA recruiting continues. Would you say that it's warm in Atlanta this week? No. Would you say that it's appropriate to be swimming outdoors in a pool?
No, I would not.
Why were three of our crew guys at the hotel yesterday swimming outdoors? The Polar Bear Club. Tough guys. Corey Earls fielded it, fumbled it, and get it back and stopped at the 6-yard line. We have either tough or demented in this crew.
Or altered.
Altered.
You know, it gets late in the year. Here we are. We're heading into week 13.
I mean, I'm in the gym, which opens a window up to the pool, and they're not just taking a quick dip for a laugh. They're standing there like
talking,
just having a nice conversation about a half-hour swim. It's about 31 yesterday here. Now they're all well insulated.
Well, how about Jesse though? You're from Canada, dude. We meet at the car today. You walk outside with a long top coat, scarf, gloves.
I read it was supposed to be in the 30s tonight.
There's Jabo Shaw. Dropped for a 1-yard gain. Reese, is there anything you can say to help us chew some clock here?
How about if I deliver the AT&T ESPN All-American Player of the Week? Percy Harvin of Florida averaged nearly 21 yards per carry in the 56-6 beatdown of South Carolina. Every week you can text the word vote to 51234 on your AT&T wireless phone. You access the nominees and you can cast a vote and enter for a chance to win a trip to the national championship game where it will be warm enough to swim without being well insulated. How about that, Fowler?
I like the segue. It'll be, we hope, very nice in Miami. The Polar Bear Club won't have to convene. Second and 9. And Jabo keeps it. And short gain. Joe Joseph on the stop.
How about Urban Meyer this week? I see where he came out.
Wait a second. There's Larry. He's one of the dudes. He's one of the Polar Bear guys. He's in the tent down there in the field.
Larry, and what Larry you can't see is Larry beneath his feet under that desk. He has a heater.
How about Larry went rock climbing today? He was up there climbing rocks earlier in the day.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
He did.
Oh, big time.
20 minutes away outside Atlanta.
This crew was out. They were out on the go-karts on Wednesday night. Some of them at a go-kart track here in town.
Didn't they have a foot race? Somebody in the crew, they raced in 100 today or something? We got a talented crew.
Jabo Shaw dropped for a loss. The crew decathlon. That's what it's come to here. 9 minutes to play.
All right, back to the little ball here. Urban Meyer, though, you saw where he came out this week talking about the VCS and all the stuff going on, and Urban was like...
what did he have to say? They're in pretty good position.
Yeah, I know, but he was railing against the conferences. He's trying to get all the conferences to be similar. You know, if you've got a conference championship game, everybody should have it. And everybody live by the same rules so that it's apples and apples. And I agree with that.
Well, the conference championship game, and he's concerned about the SEC, has both helped and hurt teams in the 10 seasons of the VCS. Frankly, it's helped the Gators to have that game a couple years ago, and they were working their way into the national championship game. Ugly punt. Collier just lets it go, and it'll stop at the 47-yard line. Miami back to work, down 25. Several stops that Coach John W. Heisman made in college football. Beat the heck out of Cumberland College, right? Famous game here. He was not that merciful. He was the original coach to run up the score. And they named a trophy after him. Let's talk Heisman in second here. Harris on first down, batted down. And once again, Michael Johnson with 40 NFL scouts here. A lot of them show up on the Thursday night games, and because it's Atlanta, there are 40 scouts here watching Johnson. The scouts very familiar with these guys. Michael Crabtree, his quarterback, Graham Harrell, Colt McCoy off this week. Bradford in the showcase game against Texas Tech. And last year's winner as a sophomore, Tim Tebow. All of them good stats. Most folks believe that those 5 are the top contenders for the Heisman. Talk about that in a second here. Harris on second down is pressured. Dances from the pocket. And skips out after about an 8-yard gain. It's a weird Heisman race because you got an incumbent and you got 4 guys from the same conference and 3 quarterbacks. Will they cancel each other out is the question people are asking.
I think there's a lot of intrigue with the Big 12 South quarterbacks right now. And Crabtree is certainly a great football player, no question about that. I mean, he's a beast. We've seen him in person. But I don't think they'll cross themselves out. Tebow making a late season push to get back in the minds.
Pass incomplete on 3rd and short. Once again, Darius Johnson not able to come up with it. You feel that Harrell is a stronger Heisman candidate than Crabtree right now from that team.
He's the trigger man, and the quarterback's good. He's got the yards. He's got getting it out there to them. I mean, Mike Crabtree is a great football player, and this award's for college football's most outstanding player.
Yeah.
But sometimes we get caught up in the numbers in the marketing campaign.
Well, his numbers have been so good. If he can go out and have a big game against Oklahoma and out-duel Sam Bradford in the process, I think that really puts him in a level of all his own. They still have a big game down the road against Missouri if they're able to beat Baylor, but Graham Harrell right now in the driver's seat in my mind.
Yeah, but it's a fluid situation. On 4th down, Collier makes the catch, but loses yardage. Morgan Burnett, a big play. And don't forget about the performance of this Jackets defense tonight. The running game is the headline. They played some stout defense as well.
Their defensive line has shown up, and they've proven that they are one of the better units in the country. And the ability to get to the ball, their pursuit has been spectacular.
Well, you see why a lot of people think this is the best unit in terms of defensive lines in all of college football. And it's not just in the running game. We've seen these guys batting down passes. Michael Johnson took a pick to the house. They're active, not just in the running game, but in the passing game as well.
So we get to watch Jabo Shaw hand off the ball to Cox. We're going to see a lot of this last 7.5. Burnett, his dad, Cap, in the NFL. He's a cousin of Bruce Thornton, who plays for the Jaguars. Reese, back with you.
All right, Chris, time for a Sports Center right now. The Phillies' Chase Utley's going to have hip surgery. It could be that he'll be missing from the Champions lineup until June. An NFL game going on right now. Bengals and the Steelers, and Pittsburgh asserting its will, up 20-7. Plenty of highlights, reaction on Sports Center following the game. You can stay current at ESPN News.
This is Peoples. Chance for the true freshman, one of the A-backs to carry the football. Pushed out in Miami territory. It'll be 3rd and about 3.
If you don't mind, I'm going to jump back into that Heisman conversation. And Sam Bradford is a guy that had just quietly gone about his business. Graham Harrell, it was Colt McCoy first.
Right.
Then Graham carries the torch right now as the guy. But if Sam goes out and lights it up this weekend, what about Sam?
Well, nobody's thrown more touchdown passes than Sam Bradford.
Well,
He's thrown 38.
Isn't he the front runner if he plays well and they win?
Absolutely.
Didn't he become the front runner?
Absolutely. Yeah. No question.
And if Oklahoma wins out, there are going to be a lot of folks saying, why wouldn't Oklahoma, if they then beat Oklahoma State, why wouldn't they be the team?
Jabo Shaw breaking into the secondary, and the true freshman backup joining the party. Dropped at the 20 after a 27-yard gain.
Fowler, this is perfect for you because you scouted this guy out. You said Jabo had the ability on the inside and the speed to get going.
Yeah.
Hey, nice job, Jabo Shaw. Add to that rushing number.
He got walked by a defensive end, but that's okay. It was a nice little 27-yarder.
That defensive end was Alan Bailey. He's a pretty good athlete also.
I know.
Played linebacker last year. Just before you kill your boy Shaw, man.
No. He's doing a good job. He's
a true freshman. He's doing a great job.
Had the one turnover. This is Jones trying to get the corner, and he spins for about 9. Jones closing in on a 100-yard game, trying to join Jonathan Dwyer.
Got another one for you guys. Just, the heartbeat of college football. There are a lot of fans that have stopped talking about USC. Yeah. Don't you get that feeling that the Trojans have kind of fallen off and they're not, everybody's talking about Florida, Alabama, Big 12 South. Nobody's even mentioning USC.
Well, as long as Oregon State keeps winning, people are going to keep forgetting about USC. And every week we think Oregon State's going to finally lose a game, but they keep pumping out wins. USC might not even win their own conference.
Jabo keeps it. Wrestled down at the 6-yard line by Glenn Cook.
I talked with Mark Stoops today, Arizona's defensive coordinator, about his game with Oregon State this week.
That's a big one.
And they, Arizona, I like Mike and Mark out there do a great job. They got a good football team. He said they went back to getting physical at practice this week. They tuned it up. They'll be ready for their Oregon State.
Arizona very balanced on offense too. 4th in the Pac-10 running the football, 4th in the Pac-10 throwing it. But that Oregon State defense looked good against Cal last week. Held them to only 85 rushing yards. That's going to be an intriguing matchup.
Shaw in the be tackled right at the line of scrimmage. Yeah, one final note on the Beavers who visit Tucson. If they can get the takeaways, because Willie Tuitama has been turnover prone against Oregon State. Beavers have won 8 out of 9 in that series. I know it's a different Arizona team, but turnovers, that's what's going to decide.
Just looking ahead to the big picture, assume Oregon State wins out, Penn State beats Michigan State. We get that Penn State-Oregon State rematch.
We'll be there.
You'll be closer than the first time, I promise you.
Because it wasn't close the first time.
I got to tell you, I like Arizona in this game. So that may answer that question for you.
Shaw, again, the keeper, hit hard at the 4-yard line.
And I like him because when I heard Mark tell me that they got physical in practice this week, at this time of the season, it's an attitude adjuster. You know, you get a little soft and you get a little lazy in your routine, and it happens all the time. Bang! You get physical and you play better on Saturday.
Well, let's see if they can slow down Jaquez Rogers. His brother James. That'll be interesting.
Well, you know, the fact that Oregon State leads the Pac-10 in passing, that's what's an interesting note, because they run so well.
Yeah.
3rd and goal. Handled at the 4-yard line is Shaw. 4th down. Deflated for the Canes, really humbling. This 5-game winning streak will come to a resounding end, but still in a race in the Coastal. And a trip to Raleigh to take on the Wolfpack a week from Saturday.
All right, Chris Fowler,
and you get all that tie-break stuff in.
Who do you think the best team is in the ACC?
Tonight, Georgia Tech is.
Okay. JP, what are you up to?
They'll go for it on 4th down. And the handoff stop for no gain inside.
I thought UNC was the best team in the ACC up until last week.
They did beat the Jackets 28-7. There you go. He only played in the first half. Jonathan Dwyer, a Wrangler 5-star player of the game, had a $128, a couple of touchdowns. Bumped his knee, so didn't play after halftime, but did enough in the first half.
$128, and only took him 10 carries.
Yeah.
Pretty good average.
That's 12.8.
That's really good math. SMU.
You could have gone to school here at Georgia Tech,
That's
James.
what I'm thinking.
Woo.
Yeah. Sign me up.
He'll be the focus of that Georgia defense when the Dogs and the Jackets collide in that rivalry game. Harris from his own end zone fires. Long throw to Devon Johnson, but a very short gain as we check back with Reese.
All right, Chris, the Dr. Pepper conference update. All eyes, as it seems to have been almost every week this year, on the Big 12 South. Texas Tech and Oklahoma. Sooners have been nearly unbeatable at home under Stoops. Red Raiders try to beat Texas and Oklahoma in the same season for the first time ever.
Again, the division clinched, Reese. If the Red Raiders win, Sooners looking for the possibility of a 3-way tie. Harris takes off, and he'll get out across the 25-yard line before he's hammered. You know, guys, we talked about the ball games. There's also a huge event this weekend in Washington, D.C. It's the Greater Washington Jewish Community Center 17th Annual Sports Award Banquet, and a well-deserved honor for our statistician, Marty Aronoff. Get off that stool, Marty. Come in here.
Marty.
This guy's been doing this job for more than 30 years. He is absolutely the best in the business. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in D.C. Well-deserved honor.
Great job, Marty.
Great
job, man. Congratulations.
The only Hall of Famer in this booth, so the show could not go on without Marty's great work. Harris fires, and the juggling catch made by Shields. Check it, not Shields, it's Farquharson up near the 38-yard line. Wonder if Harris is going to be the starter a week from Saturday. They've had the pattern, no matter who plays well the previous week, they go with Marv.
I think Harris has had the.
Yeah, but do you give him the starting nod?
I think I would.
That'll be an issue, I think. Harris goes downfield, and there's a catch made by Bird. Big Ten race. Maybe decided here in this game. Ohio State plays Michigan at noon, and then Michigan State and Penn State. Michigan State needs the Wolverines to shock Ohio State to have a chance to get into the Rose Bowl. It's all the Nittany Lions.
But Daryl Clark really had his only bad game of the year against Iowa 2 weeks ago. Rebounded nicely against Indiana last week. Got back to that efficient play.
Yeah, had a couple fumbles and a pick in bad weather against the Hoosiers.
Timeout on the field. This is an official's timeout.
But, you know, I talked to Jay Paterno, the co-offensive coordinator. He said that Clark took an unfair amount of blame from their fans. He was 9 of 23 against Iowa, had some drops, was hit. Yeah. The protection broke down. And Penn State, you know, practicing this week in the cold to get ready for that game on Saturday afternoon where it's going to be pretty frosty in Happy Valley.
So every time that happens, don't you usually look for the defense to step up? And that Tom Bradley defense that has no nickname, no moniker, I bet they show up and again challenge Javon Ringer.
What is all that stuff? Kinematics? Harris firing downfield and over the head of Farquharson. There's a flag in the secondary. Crowd booing, and will be interference.
Uncatchable ball.
There's Mario Edwards in the neighborhood. We'll see if they pick it up.
If they don't, it's a handicap call.
Pass interference. 46 defense. That's 15-yard penalty on the previous spot. Automatic first down.
That's a ticky-tack there. And it was way over the head of Farquharson. What is all this stuff here? What's all that stuff?
It looks like it's the equations for throwing touchdown passes between Josh Nesbitt and Demaryius Thomas.
No, they got the right combination.
Well, they, you know, considering they've thrown the football 7 times.
It's not drawn to scale, just FYI.
Because the guy in the right would have been a lot taller.
Wow.
After the penalty, it's a first down for the Canes. Harris firing down the middle, has a man, and Farquharson will go into the end zone. So it'll look a little bit more respectable on the scoreboard because of some late touchdown passes from Harris, that one covering 25 yards.
But don't you think the Miami offense has looked so much more fluid when Ja'Cory Harris has been behind center? And certainly Georgia Tech, they're not bringing the dogs right now. They're not getting after him like they were earlier in the game with Robert Marvin. But I think Ja'Cory Harris, for a true freshman, he's shown a lot of poise. They're down, and he's still out there fighting.
So I look for accuracy. That's what's been in my mind. It just seems like Harris was far more accurate in throwing the football tonight than Mark was.
It was a 98-yard drive. A stutter step on the conversion, but it's knocked through by Bosher. He still is perfect on the season. Another reminder, ABC primetime game. Brent Musburger, Kirk Herbstreit, Lisa Salters in Norman, Oklahoma, or game day. Start the day at 10 a.m. Eastern, and then ABC, 8 o'clock Eastern, the Red Raiders and the Sooners. Talked about the amazing numbers of these quarterbacks. Total touchdowns, puts the passing and the rushing touchdowns together.
I think that's ridiculous. Golly, 42 total touchdowns each.
Video game. It's like a video game.
There's Sam Bradford and Graham Harrell are so accurate in all the passes that they make, short, medium, long. And I mean, Bradford put on 15 pounds in the offseason, and I think it's really paid off for him. And watching him throw and standing behind Bradford in practice, and when you see him deliver the football, he reminds me of Ben Roethlisberger. When you're behind him and you see the ball, it's there. It's coming down at him.
Well, you know, and what's most impressive to me about Sam Bradford is he's accurate, but really accurate when they throw the football downfield. When he's pushing it downfield to his targets, 30, 40, 50 yards, man, he's on spot.
And you know what? If you're Oklahoma's defense, I think the key in this ballgame for them is yards after catch. They've got to hug Tech's receivers. If they let those receivers catch the ball and move after it, it could be a long night for them.
Manny Johnson, one of the targets for Bradford, getting healthier, which has been big. They've been productive, but they're a better offense when Manny Johnson is in there. The onside kick is collected. I don't know if he's a member of the hands team, but Derek Morgan, big number 91, the defensive end, got the ball.
91, Morgan on it. Hey, but you know, isn't that great to see Johnson coming back, though? He's the guy that had the elbow, that really ugly, nasty elbow injury.
Yeah.
And it's just great to see him back out on the field. You know, I'll say this, though. Texas Tech is a football team, I believe, full of confidence. I don't think they'll be rattled by the Norman crowd. The OU fans will show up. They'll be gassed up out there.
Who benefits more from the bye week? Oklahoma or Texas Tech?
Texas Tech. Texas Tech. Because, see, they got a chance to recover after those big games with Texas and Oklahoma State.
You know, they've got the third quarterback, Calvin Booker, who's a senior, a local guy. He mishandled the exchange, avoids the fumble, but falls forward. So, final minute here. Miami will head home, deflated. The win streak snapped, but again, still in the race here. At NC State, the Jackets finish their ACC campaign at 5-3. They go in and they post that score in the clubhouse, so they have to wait and see what the Cavaliers and the Hokies and the Hurricanes do in their final game, and it will not be sorted out until the final weekend, November 29th. How about 464?
That works.
I mean, if they hadn't really called it off, if they'd gone full bore here in the second half, left Nesbitt in there, I mean, it's scary how many they might have.
And remember, Jonathan Dwyer didn't play at all in the second half either. I mean, if these guys were, going and the game was still tight and they had to keep pounding this thing away, that number could have been way more uglier.
And it's the most allowed on the ground for Miami since 1944. Second most in history. Randy Shannon's strong defensive background. He's seen his Miami defenses shut down the option in the past, but again, this is a different sort of option and a very young defense.
And that's the key there, Chris, is it is a different type of offense. When they shut Darren Evans down from Virginia Tech last Thursday, who had just come off a 253-yard rushing performance, school record the week before against Maryland, I thought this defense, they're back.
But there's nothing predictable about a young team. You knew there was going to be one of these games where Miami was going to look like a bunch of freshmen and sophomores, and it was mostly because Tech came and outplayed them and was sharp and aggressive from the start.
Well, that's worked both ways for both of these teams. Georgia Tech did not look very impressive against UNC 2 weeks ago. Completely different team here tonight.
It's Booker on the keeper, and the senior on senior night in his final home game for Georgia Tech. Gets a chance to rip off about a 7-yard gain. It's been pretty much a party here in Atlanta for the guys in the all-white unis. Top rusher in the ACC, Jonathan Dwyer, again, just a half, but 128 yards rushing. And for Paul Johnson, a very satisfying win as he turns his focus toward the Georgia Bulldogs. The ACC race, even more convoluted than it was 3 hours ago. And the Jackets very much in the mix. SportsCenter is coming up next. Over on ESPN News, we'll have post-game extra. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Craig, Jesse, and Aaron, Marty Aronoff, our spotter Mike Black, Jack Graham, our producer, and Mike Schwab, our director, and our entire crew, I'm Chris Fetter saying so long from Atlanta.